Hello, 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 and welcome to the Bada Bin Show. I am one of your hosts, Dave, and much like the tic tac toe scenario from the Brady Bunch, down there is Chris. Hey, Chris, how are you? Is everything okay?
Am I in Bobby
I don't know
Square?
whose square
Is
you're in. I mean, we've already likened it to
oh,
Hollywood squares, so now I'm looking for more grids that maybe that we can relate
okay.
to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But alas, here we are, you and me,
We are here.
talking comics, ready
S-
to rock and roll.
Say our names and we appear.
Right, right. Just rub the lamp, bro.
Mhm,
And this is what you get. How disappointing is that?
mhm. I know, right?
How are you today, man? You're looking good.
You know,
Yeah.
living. How about
I
you?
also am. Yeah, I'm living. I'm loving life. I'm doing great because right now I am live on YouTube, prepared to talk about
We
some
are.
comics with my good homie G, Chris. Have you ever been called a
I
homie
like it.
G, or is this the first
I'm
time?
sure I have
Okay.
at some point. I must have been, right? I grew up in the '90s. I'm sure at some point
Yeah. Well, you know,
I was called that.
Chris, before we continue, because I did promise some
Hmm.
rad, totally tubular comics talk, I
Gnarly.
want to talk a little real life stuff here for a second because I don't know if I've
Uh-oh.
mentioned on the program before. I believe I have. I do my best
Hmm.
thinking while in the shower.
Sure. Most of us
Hmm.
do. Most of us philosophers of our time
Yep,
do.
I love taking my showers and my mind just wanders and goes to places, whether it's memories of the past or just, I don't know, I'm a philosopher. I'm a deep thinker.
Hmm.
You know, who's the
Hmm.
first deep thinker you can think of?
Emile
He
Descartes,
sucks. He stinks.
probably.
Terrible compared to me. I'm the best there ever was. You know what I mean?
Jean-Paul Sartre.
Terrible. The worst. And I'm going to tell you why. And what I'm about to explain to
Hmm.
you just completely leaves them in the dust, all right?
Okay.
So, no secret, I'm a little follically challenged up above, you know what I mean? I wear a
Hmm.
lot of
Hmm.
hats
Hmm.
and I don't got a lot going on up there. That's cool, that's fine. I'm a very handsome chap. But
There you
I'm
go.
looking down while I'm taking a shower and I see a bottle of shampoo taunting me,
Hmm.
looking at me and going, "You don't need me, you son of a bee." That's right. But while I'm looking at this shampoo, I'm very confused by the marketing on the front
Hmm.
of the bottle. Now, I'm not going to give any free plugs. The only thing I give free plugs here are to great comics, bad comics, good comic shops, and bad comic shops. So
Hmm. Hmm.
nothing given here. So we're just going to rename this product in a very similar fashion to its actual name. So we're going to call this Ned and Boulders. This is
Hmm.
a bottle of Ned and Boulders, and what I find so
You can get that on pay-per-view for $30, I think.
yeah, it's a little embarrassing on your hotel room bill.
Yeah, you don't want that
Sir,
on the
you owe
bill.
us $49.99 for your viewing of Ned and Boulders. Oh, excuse me.
Your multiple
Yes,
viewings. Yeah.
which actually just activated my Siri for some reason. So something's going. We have a good
Oh no,
idea. Something's going on there.
we
But
do.
anyway,
AI is all over it.
back to the topic at hand. What I find fascinating about the front of this bottle is when did shampoo go from lathering your locks, luscious hair, to being what
Hmm.
appears to me like amoeba fighting a jellyfish for to see who's the dominant species?
Hmm.
Don't you think this is a little weird, a little odd? No?
It is. It's very scientific, isn't it? It almost like if you didn't know what it was, you might think it's like contact lens solution.
Yeah, right. There you go. It
Yeah,
doesn't immediately scream shampoo to me,
it does
you
not.
know?
It screams wet. That's about it.
Yeah, I can see that, but still, I don't. What are these little orange dots, droplets supposed to be?
They
I call
are
them amoeba.
uh, they are
Okay,
provitamins.
those provitamins are killing the jellyfish. Poor jellyfish.
They or they're empowering the
There we go.
jellyfish.
He's been bitten.
It might be jellyfish steroids.
Right, this jellyfish has been bitten by a radioactive provitamin.
Vitamin. Yeah,
With
yeah.
great cleanliness comes great responsibility, or something. But yeah,
That's what they
when
say.
did this happen? When did this occur, and why did I miss it?
You know, I wonder, like usually you'd figure it would be a picture of someone with nice
Yeah.
hair or maybe suds or
Mm-hmm.
something or maybe just like no picture at all. But I think we're in this age now where we all try to convince ourselves how into science we are.
Maybe that could be the case. Sure.
So we need to make things scientific. Like I watch a lot of I watch a lot of workout videos. Um, and like a thing that's going on now, and probably has been for a little while, is like every YouTube video says like, how to grow your shoulders scientifically proven or science backed,
Oh.
science focused.
Okay.
So like everybody has to add the science element to their
Mm-hmm.
titling. So people be like, oh well, that ain't BS. That's science. And then they tell you like you can go watch like 15 videos of how to get wider shoulders that are all science backed, and they're all different.
Okay.
They're all different. So it's like I think we're just in an age where we're trying to be, I effing love science. So there you go. Now
So you end up
even
with
you
that.
can't even wash your hair without being scientific. You're in the lab, not in
Yeah,
the
I guess
shower.
so, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I know this is you guys. I'm here to talk about comics. How lame, Dave. Stop talking about Ned and Boulders.
Ah, life is
It is,
life.
right? And I guarantee
Hmm.
you that someone else out there in the world is looking at the same thing, wondering the questions that I ponder. So I want to find that
Hmm.
person,
Hmm.
okay? This is my call
Sure.
out into the wild. Who else thinks this is incredibly strange? Let me know. Anyway.
Hmm.
So, yeah, comics talk, man. Let's start with that then. Let's keep going. Let's
Sure.
keep rocking and rolling because, I have been reading comics for, geez, 4 decades? God, I can't
Sure.
believe that just came out of my mouth. How sad.
Scared
Yeah,
me.
it's like, well,
Yeah. Where'd our lives
listen,
go?
it's
Yeah.
joyous, yes, because I love comics, right? But it is sad because you're like, 40 years?
Hmm.
Exactly. Where did it go? Can I get those back,
Yeah.
please?
Do we have another 40 ahead of us? Who
All right, well,
knows?
let's not get too.
More than
There we
one.
go. Thank you very much. But I'm bringing this up mainly because I don't know if it was last episode or the episode before, maybe even the
Hmm.
one before that. Who knows? I can't keep track of time, obviously. I brought up my love, my absolute love, for a series that came out when I was a kid called Legends.
Hmm.
So the deal with Legends is
Oh, that Suicide
here
Squad
you go,
story.
man. The first appearance of Suicide Squad. Yeah. But when I was kind of recalling my memories of it, now mind you, I haven't read this since the late '80s, early '90s, and I
Sure.
even mentioned I'm a little concerned because I hold it in such high regard that should I reread it, what if I start thinking less of this series? What if it's not as good as
It's
I
always a
remember?
it's always a
It is
possibility.
always a possibility. But when I was talking about it that time out, I I made an error. I said something wrong, and I can't believe it. But yet again, after reading comics for as long as I have, it's bound to happen. And what I did was,
Of course.
I mentioned that Desaad was undercover on Earth as G. Gordon Godfrey, the one of the villains of this book. And you even like pause for a second, like, you mean Glorious Godfrey to correct me? But when I'm talking, man, I'm a freight train. I just keep rocking and rolling. So I just, went right past that. But yes, it is not Desaad. It is the Glorious Godfrey. So
Hmm.
whoopsie, mistake on Dave. Please forgive me, world.
You need to read 7 issues of Heroes in Crisis.
No, no. We already said this is like hell on earth. No, we cannot do that. That's the ultimate penance. Penance.
Hmm.
Penance.
It is.
Yeah. So I did. And I mentioned, I'm scared to read Legends again, but I did dive
Hmm.
back into it a little bit. Now we have a viewer, Chris Yu, who
Hmm.
emailed us and mentioned that he started reading Legends because I said I loved it so much.
Yeah, he grabbed a. I think he said he was grabbing a digital version of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I'm like, hey man, this is my responsibility now. This is my shoulders. I need some steroids or something. I'm carrying the world on this
Hmm.
son of a gun. My cross to bear. And
Hmm.
if other people are picking it up because I recommended it and I haven't read it in 30 some odd years, I mean, I got the trade sitting right here. I might as well.
There you
And
go.
to be quite honest with you, I'm very happy with it. And there's so many times that comics of this era tend to be so dated and kind of harder to read
Oh
because they're
yeah.
overly verbose. Now, this one, just
Hmm.
to let people know, the creators were John Ostrander, Len Wein, John Byrne, and Carl Kessel. Ostrander, I believe, was a plotter. Wein was a scripter. Byrne, artist. Kessel, the inker.
Yeah, Murderer's Row
Yeah,
right
that's quite
there.
the creative
A
team.
lot of great talent.
And Len
Yeah,
Wein, I have a lot of love and respect for because he
of
created
course.
Swamp Thing. A lot of people know him as the
Hmm.
co-creator of Wolverine, and I mean the
Hmm.
guy's a legend who sadly passed a
Absolutely.
few years back. There,
Hmm.
maybe a little bit longer now, since yet again I struggle with time.
And COVID screwed everything up. I feel like things that were like a year or two
Hmm.
ago are actually 6 or 7 years ago now. It's like, how
I
did
know,
that
right?
happen?
It's like a complete and utter
Yeah.
blur,
Hmm.
and it does have a lot of those elements that I would really consider negative. Right when I revisit something from the '80s in particular. But for some
Hmm.
reason, man, I'm sorry, this thing just works. The pacing is fantastic. It just speeds right through. Um,
Hmm.
and you really get your bang for your buck out of this mini series.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, Legends, man. Yes, the first appearance of Suicide Squad, which is so famous for, that's all fine and dandy. You get your Amanda Waller in there. Which,
Hmm.
how much Waller is too much Waller? I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more absolute power a little bit later in the program. But this, of course, was the original iteration of Amanda Waller, which is
Sure.
actually based off Give Me a Break. Oh, yeah. Nell Carter.
Nell Carter.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's fairly interesting. Who is a heavy set woman. And I think John Byrne was even quoted saying, what? You can't have heavier characters in comics? I mean, you can't depict a woman without her being in a.
Did
What's
they
that?
did they ever explain how they changed her so drastically for the new 52 and now she's back to like her original look?
No, I mean, maybe they did.
Was it a life model decoy or crash diet or
Is it an
what?
android? Is it a robot? I
Hmm.
honestly,
Is it Memorex?
yeah. To be honest with you, I just don't know. I,
So I remember that was a little bit of clapback
hmm
for DC when they reintroduced her as like very slender
yeah.
post Flashpoint. People were not happy with that at all because Amanda's size was it was imposing and it fit her character, and it was also novel. It was different.
hmm
Um, so I think a lot of people dug the original iteration.
Right. Well, that's like with Lobo too, right? When they did the new 52,
Oh, ugh, yeah.
they made that new version of Lobo that wasn't well
Hmm.
received. So, yeah.
No, no, I'm not a fan of either Lobo,
hmm
but I mean, stick the landing.
right? But yeah, man, overall, and I know I'm being kind of a little vague on this because I do want more people to check it out, and you can find it on
Mhm.
the super cheap, even with that first appearance of Suicide Squad, which
Yep.
I say in a grandiose fashion every time it's brought up. It's not an expensive series to pick up. I mean, I got this trade
No.
at Ollie's.
Hmm.
For those who are not aware, Ollie's is like a discount store. Back home in Massachusetts, we used to have something called Building 19 or Spags, which would always have a bunch of junky stuff in there for cheap. But Ollie's is also known as a great place to find trades, depending on the location.
Yeah.
So I paid a
Sure.
whopping
Sure.
$4.99 for this a couple of years back when I
Mm.
saw it. And of course, I had to have it. I'm like, Legends, yeah, give me
Sure.
that to me.
Yeah. I got the entirety of Legends out of a 50-cent bin, probably 2010 or
Mm-hmm.
so. Now they're a little bit more expensive, depending on where you go. I saw Legends #1 on the wall this weekend
Really?
actually for $25.
Wow, $25.
Yeah, and the sticker said first Amanda
Oh,
Waller.
was
So,
it like near mint or something too, or?
oh, I don't know. I didn't get close enough. It was up on the wall. It
Yeah.
was. I really don't pay attention to that stuff anyway. But yeah, it was surprisingly expensive. Yeah, and right next to it was that Blue Beetle I showed last week.
hmm
That one was $25 too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel. Hey man, I kind of get the
Yeah.
Blue Beetle. I think in a really crispy condition, the Blue Beetle. And I'm just speculating here. My
Hmm.
speculation, which is so off what real speculators do,
Yeah, what do we
I'd say
know?
like 10, $15. You know what I mean? For like a near mint
Yeah.
or graded 8.0 higher kind of beautiful looking copy of Blue Beetle #1.
Sure,
But
sure.
Legends, yeah, I think even online, if you wanted to, you could probably score for way, way cheaper than that. So
Oh yeah.
That store owner might be a
Yeah.
wee bit delusional, if you ask me.
And like on the other, that was like the DC side,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then on the Marvel side, I mentioned that I'm missing one issue with Daredevil to take me back to like the death of Elektra, and it's a Daredevil volume, whatever the hell 2 volumes ago
Mm-hmm.
was, the first Zosky one, number 2, because it's the first appearance of that seminal milestone character, Detective Cole.
Really?
Who
Exactly.
who gives a I mean, I like Detective Cole's first appearance. I need it. Um, and I saw that for
Mm-hmm.
$35. I'm like, oh no, no, can't do that.
Wow.
That's too new.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's no shortage of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like 30. No, no, and I've seen it online for like 15.
Yeah, and
So it's
even
like
then,
no.
even if it's high now and it's something newer, it
Mm,
always drops back down.
mhm. Yeah, like a rock.
You know, that's
Yeah.
one of the things is like with the whole this character is going to appear in a television series, a movie, the price whoop,
Hmm.
goes through the roof. But
Yeah, I'm wondering if Detective Cole might have been in like a Netflix show or
not that
something.
I'm aware of, but even with someone maybe guessing or surmising, maybe
Guessing
they might
maybe.
appear
Yeah.
in something. The value just goes right through the roof, and yet again, it will calm down and level
Yeah,
out.
because it's because let's say Detective Cole is in a Netflix
Uh,
show. Is anybody watching that show going, man, I need his first
I don't know.
appearance?
Uh,
Probably zero
Yeah, I
people.
don't know. It's like that. You
Yeah.
know, there's always somebody out there. Much like I'm searching for that Ned and Boulders person. You
Hmm.
know, just trying to make something out of nothing. Really. You
Mm-hmm.
know. So yeah.
Sure.
But hey, back to Legends real quick. Another important thing about
Yeah, hit it.
Legends was, you know, the spin-offs. Because yet again, the Suicide Squad. But
Mm-hmm.
you got Cosmic Boy, Justice League International.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good stuff kind of came out of this that we don't really
Sure.
always associate.
Was the Wally West Flash spun out of that, or was that before?
Well, he's kind of God, I want to say a word, a phrase, I don't, but he's kind of dealing with his own I don't want to say the C word, identity problems, right? He's in the
Sure,
shadow
sure.
of Barry Allen that he's
Mm-hmm.
trying to emerge from, and he's wearing the red costume. He's
He's got big shoes to
exactly
fill. Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
there's a scene here right in the beginning where he's talking to Beast Boy about how hard it is
Mm-hmm.
for him to not only accept the fact that like Barry's gone and everything, but now it's me.
Sure.
I'm the guy
Mm-hmm.
who's gonna fill yet again those shoes as you had mentioned, and because
Mm-hmm.
Garfield was like, well. Why don't you just become Lightning Boy or just change your name? Like, you don't have to assume that
Yeah.
identity.
You don't have to take the
But he was
mantle.
like, no,
Yeah.
I want that to live on. I want that legend
Mm-hmm.
to continue and never
Mm-hmm.
die. So it's actually pretty cool. There's a lot of good stuff that actually happens in here.
And he actually wasn't the first choice.
Really? Do tell.
Marv Wolfman created a scientist character that appeared in an issue of Teen
Mm.
Titans that was supposed to be the follow-up Flash, and it just didn't
How
pan
come?
out.
Do you know?
I did know. I have it in the Titans Compendium, the Tomorrow's book, and oh no, I think it's actually the Flash
Ah.
Compendium. One of them, one of the two. I got them both over there, but I read it probably a year
Mm-hmm.
ago. Don't remember the exact specifics. I just remember the inch deep, mile wide, I guess.
Okay. Now, you were supposed to come this week with some Starman talk, but
Hmm.
you did.
Dog
Your
ate my
dog ate
homework.
your
Yeah,
homework, so maybe next week,
did. Yeah.
just like the chili dog
Hopefully,
story.
hopefully,
You know,
one of these days.
we will finally talk about it, you know, in the future. But yeah, so just in closing,
It's
definitely check this
yeah,
out.
it's been good.
Go for it. You too, Chris. Dig them out. You didn't pay barely anything for them. Go find them. Read them again.
It's true. It's true.
And some primo John Byrne in here too. Even though all the characters have that John Byrne bottom lip thing,
Resting
there
burn
you go.
face.
It's like they're having a
Hmm.
stroke. They're one side of their face just droops. You're like,
Yep.
what is going on here? Another real quick thing before we move on is
Mhm.
Jason Todd, who we all know suffered his horrifying death at the hands of the Joker. And this one, an angry mob beats the crap out of him too. So poor Jason Todd.
He'd never get a leg up.
No, no, he did not. He got a lot of broken legs, unfortunately. So yeah.
True.
Now,
True.
Chris, I have a fresh stack of books from my mail order that
Mhm.
I want to show off. But before I do, I know
Hmm.
that you have scored some new stuff yourself. Do you have that handy? Would you like to show that off to the masses right now? That'd
Sure,
be
sure, I could
great.
do that. Yeah, it's been a well, it's been a lot of weird weeks here
Okay.
at the palatial Chris
Uh
State.
huh.
But I went out for a drive to clear my head over the weekend and stopped at a few shops here. And the shop I went to was one that I go to probably not even once a
Oh.
year because it's by the college. It's in Tempe, Arizona. It's by ASU, the big school over here. And parking is a nightmare. The roads there are very narrow and always under construction because it's Arizona, and you can't go a half block in
That's everywhere,
Arizona.
man.
Oh, it must be.
Mm-hmm.
It must be. It was weird going to Seattle a couple months ago, and it's like, wow, there's road here. We can actually drive without dropping down to 25 miles an hour or just
Mm-hmm.
stopping. But this shop has like no parking. So it was a Sunday afternoon. And it's like, okay, there's got to be spaces there today, and I'll go. And I haven't dug through their bins in I think once since COVID. So probably 2 years ago. And as I'm pulling in, because this is one of the shops in town that hasn't moved locations, because most of the shops that I think all the shops have moved locations. There's the same store, they're just in a different spot.
Yeah.
You know. Now this one has kept maintained the same occupancy for 25 years now. And I was reminded of the first time I went out there, and I don't know if you'll have similar experiences as this. I remember when we moved out here, we moved out to Arizona in 1997. And as soon as I got my bearings and was starting to look for work and stuff, I started to venture out and rediscovered comics. And I remember tearing pages out of the phone book because the internet wasn't the
Right.
internet. So you go to like the comic book page, the comic book store page, you rip that page out of the phone book. You go to the sports card page, you rip that page out because they had comics too, and you try to navigate as best you can. You don't have GPS, there's no phones, it's totally different. So I remember pulling the page out and finding this comic shop and having a hell of a time trying to find it because down by the school the roads get kind of weird, and it's busy. And even back then, it was under construction. So I remember going there and just the insane ride going on. Because the phone book I had was from like 1994, 1995. That was just left in the house we moved into.
Okay.
And we talked about that Wizard issue last week, where like people were saying like, "Oh, can't find your nearest comic store. Your comic store closed down. Here, call 1-800 comic book or whatever it
Yeah.
is to find your local
Right.
store, the one that's still open." Um, well, the 1994 phone book had a lot of stores in it, and like probably 75% of them were no longer in existence by 1997.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm pulling into strip malls and there's nothing, So I'm stopping like uh, like 10 stores in a day, and like maybe one of them was still open. Like and they were like totally different businesses now. They were just like you saw that they were a comic store, but like the boards were up on the windows and stuff, so it was a pretty
Sad, sad
interesting
state of
trip.
affairs.
Oh
Right.
yeah, absolutely. But I made it out to this one in Tempe. Um, and then this weekend, since I needed some time to get a little bit of air in my lungs, I went out there and um, they didn't have a whole lot. you know, After the long ride and fighting through construction, I bought one comic there, which is one that I've been looking for everywhere. Um, I was trying to finish up my run of Shade the Changing Man from Vertigo, proto Vertigo, and this was the last issue I needed, issue 69. Um, been looking for it for years now. Just couldn't find it anywhere. Didn't want to. I mean, I'm sure I could have gotten it easily online, but didn't want to do it. But found it. So maybe eventually I'll read Shade the Changing Man outside the first like 10, 15 issues. Now, since this was like $3, And I don't know, do you ever feel weird when you only spend like $2 or $3 at a store?
Absolutely. It's like almost
Okay.
impossible, but even then when I have a book, I'm like, this is all I want. I gotta
Mhm.
grab something else. Come on, man. I'm a grown man,
Exactly.
darn it.
Yeah, so it's like, and like even when you spend a lot of money at a comic store, like you'll hand them the stack and they'll be like, "Is this all? Is this all for you? Oh, just this today?" And it's like, dude, that's like $80. Just this today? Yeah. Um, okay. So I bought something else while I was there. During my time away these past few weeks, I've been trying to catch up on some of my gaming, some video games. And one game I've been playing is Sandland. It's an Akira Toriyama manga adaptation video game. It's a lot of fun. Thought I had this, but I didn't. So I went out and I bought Sandland. I picked up Sandland while I was picking up Shade the Changing Man.
Okay.
So that was how I got it over $10. Because I felt
Yeah.
weird especially after driving all that way. It's like, man, I put on like 40 miles. I'm spending $3 on a
Yeah.
comic. So bought that. Read a little bit of it because I didn't want to spoil the game, but so far so good, I guess.
I gotta be
But
honest
on the
with
way
you
home, go ahead.
that Sandland sound like
Mhm.
just if someone said, "Hey man, you check out this new game. It's called Sandland." Like the most boring game of all time.
Oh, dude, yeah,
We play with
because it's
sand.
Akira Toriyama. He's the guy who did Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball
Uh
Z,
huh.
stuff like that. And they announced that this game Sandland was coming out like a year ago. They announced it, and it was like, Sandland, really? It's like that was one volume manga from like 1999,
Mm-hmm.
2000 ish. Seemed like there wouldn't be a whole lot of story for it. It's just one
Okay.
volume. So how are you going to make a game out of that? And the game is actually a blast.
Really?
It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a little bit repetitive, but it's a lot of fun. Open world sort of role playing sort of situation, and it's beautiful. It's really really well done. Um, on the way home, I did stop at another shop, and it's I'm coming to that point now. I think we talked about this either here or on NML Crossing, where you reach that point in your bin diving where like at first it's overwhelming, so it's not fun because like you just want everything. Then you hit the sweet spot where it's like you only have a handful of things left that you need for this particular
Sure.
hunt. So like every time you find something, it's really special. It's always like you get the butterflies. You're always wanting to do it because you're getting close. And then you go out the other end where it's like nothing's left.
Yeah. Picked it
I've
clean.
already, yeah, I've already extinct, yeah, all the meat's off the bone here. And I stopped at a shop in hopes that they might be restocking some of their wares,
Mm-hmm.
I was there on the 4th of July for a sale they had, and so I went this past weekend, so about a month later, hoping that maybe after the big sale they might have restuffed the bins. They did not, so it was kind of slim pickings on what I was going to pull. Um, but you drove somewhere. I found one thing I really wanted, but again, it was like $4. And it's like, crap. I'm really gonna go up to and be like, it's $4. So I did some diving and I picked up a couple issues of Birds of Prey that I've been looking for. Well, not so much looking for, I guess filling holes. Um, and I found this issue of Daredevil for I think this was like $2. So I'm like, it's old Daredevil, why not? But the one thing I found there that I wanted was in the magazine boxes. And I mentioned last time about how when you get to like the boxes and it's mad or cracked, it's like, oh, this is all it's gonna be.
Yeah, you hurt
And
my
I
feelings
found
with
out
that one, buddy.
unintentional,
Mm-hmm.
unintentional. But then I realized there, and this is gonna hurt your feelings too. When you get to that box that's all Conan, it's like, oh, come on, dude. I want magazines. It's like nobody wants these Conans. They're like $1 or $2
What?
each, and nobody wants.
Get out
Yeah,
of here. So you
Savage
Savage Sword of Conan,
Savage Swords of Conan.
you see
Yeah.
a big fat box of those and for a
Uh huh.
dollar? Are
Buck or
they in
two.
decent enough
Some were like
condition?
four.
Or are they all water
Yeah.
damaged and just gross?
No, no, they're fine. They're fine. They're bagged and boarded.
Oy
But
vey.
it's like I could care less. Or I couldn't care less. So it's like I'm going. It's like, oh, here's some, some Tomorrow's magazines, and Tomorrow's magazines used to love them.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, they feel very, very cheap. Only they're not. They're like
Yeah.
$13 an issue or
Very
something,
expensive, sure.
and they're basically message board posts or
Mm-hmm.
tweets. So it's like I don't care about this crap anymore. It doesn't feel academic anymore. It feels very, I
I
don't
can
know,
see that.
just
Yeah,
not what I'm looking for
yeah, I
in
follow
comic
you.
magazine. It's like I don't want opinion. I want history. I don't want stupid opinion
Yeah,
pieces.
random blog
Um,
posts. Yeah, I hear
exactly,
you.
exactly.
Yep.
It's like I've done none of that. Done enough of that crap myself.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's like, oh, tomorrow's books and Conan. No, 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 stop. And then it's mad cracked, mad cracked. No, no, just give me comics. Give me comic news about magazines. So I found one magazine in this bin that I wanted,
Okay.
and it was an issue of Four Color, and you can see here that this is not for the fans. This is not for enthusiasts. This is for comic book connoisseurs. So a little up its own ass. Um, and on the cover here we have ElfQuest that all look like they ran into Mark McKinney's "I'm Crushing Your Head" character.
Yeah, yeah, sure. From Kids in the Hall.
Like look at, yeah, look at these faces, man. I mean, it's like, ugh, they got some problems there. It wasn't drawn by Wendy Pini, so um, I picked that up because I just love, Gestalt and old comic reporting and stuff. This is from March of 1987, and the interesting thing that I found in it. Last time when we talked about Wizard, as I mentioned before, we talked about, the bubble bursting and how comic shops were closing down, and how all of the ads in there were like, "Hey, we're still open. Please come visit us." Um, this one here has a different bust. This is 1987, so this is the black and white indie bust. You know, started. We got Cerebus, ElfQuest, the Turtles. It was huge for a minute there, where any book, no matter what sort of print run, they were just going to fly off the shelves. A lot of it out of speculation, maybe a little bit out of
Mm-hmm.
interest, tiny, tiny bit out of interest, mostly out of speculation. So this magazine here is talking a lot about that bust and how there's like this weird, like passive. It isn't even passive aggressive. It's just plain aggressive article or a editorial from the makers of this magazine who are complaining about their distributors not paying them. So it's like, we're trying to put this magazine out for comic book fan or
Yes,
connoisseurs, I guess,
please. Come correct.
and
Connoisseurs.
connoisseurs here. It's almost up its own ass like the Comics Journal, um, but it's written far far more pleasant than the Comics Journal. Um, but complaining that the distributors weren't paying them, and that they were getting letters from the distributors saying like, oh, there's cash flow problems, and how the cash flow problems are mostly born out of this indie bust. Because people were ordering so damn many of these books and they were not selling. And these indies were coming out not so much on the newsstand, right? They're coming out through the direct market, so bought and paid for. So the publishers don't have any stake in it. Once the books are sold to distributors and sold to retailers, they're done. They got their money. They got all the money they're going to get out of it, so they don't care. Um, but the distributors here kind of had the eyes bigger than belly. They didn't think that this boom was going to ever, this bubble was ever going to burst, and so it did. And so this magazine here, they're actually threatening the readership, saying like, "Hey, we might go out of business because of this." And it's like, what the hell's a reader gonna? I mean,
Yeah.
I ain't paying your distributors' bills. I what do you want me to do about it? But it's just a real sad state of affairs. They even published some of the letters that the distributor sent them,
Mm-hmm.
like where it was like a tale of two distributors. One of them was kind of passing the buck, blaming the climate and the market and just what things were like, and the other one was like, hey, we screwed up. We over ordered this. We never thought this was going to stop,
Yeah.
at least not as abruptly as it
Mm-hmm.
did. Is when you're entering into a recession, it can happen real slow and gradual, or it could just fall off the cliff. And I guess for this boom here, it just fell off the cliff. But it reminded me here because That Wizard we talked about last time was from 1996. This is 1987, so 9 years was all it took for the next boom and bust. So for all the kvetching that we do about current year comics, they made it longer than 9 years.
Yeah.
I mean, because I don't think we're in a, well, we're kind of in a bust now. It's a gradual one, because there's they're chucking every dead cat across the street to see how many times it bounces. But
That's grim. Meow.
I mean that's a stock market
Okay.
saying there. It's a dead cat bounce. It's the perception of movement when there really is no life.
Okay.
Um, which is I think the where we're at now in comics. But we talk about learning lessons, going from gimmick to gimmick to gimmick to gimmick. And here, I mean, they flooded the market with indies that people wanted initially,
Mm-hmm.
until you reach that tipping point where it's just like everything can't be a collector's item. Everything can't be the thing that's going to pay my house off.
Yeah.
So people lost interest. Same thing happened just 9 years, or less than 9 years later, probably 8 years later. I think 1995 is when the wheels started to come off of the speculator boom of that era, where people were just like, not everything could be a collector's item. Not every foil cover is going to
Right.
be the thing. And there's just so damn many of it, so damn much of it, I guess, where there has to be a tipping point. There has to be a correction. So I thought that was interesting for this magazine. I mean, the ElfQuest stuff in there was basically the same stuff that you read anytime ElfQuest is mentioned back then, slight variations, but generally speaking, the same. But that was my big find of that day, I guess. Not great, not terrible, but was what it was. Then just a couple days ago, I was out for another ride, and I stopped at another shop that I go to probably twice a year. And I went to this shop for the first time because they changed locations, and it was around the time of the pandemic. And I saw this 5-pack of comics.
Oh boy.
That it was a bundle, a nice bundle of comics here. It was $10. And I'm like, do I need that in my life?
Yes.
Kinda, but no.
Yes, you do.
No, so I left it. Yeah, I know. I went back like after the pandemic calmed down, so probably a year later. I'm in there and the same bundles there. And it's right in the beginning of the alphabet, so it's like the first thing you see as you're walking to the bundles. And so I'm like, still there. Okay, maybe next time. And I've been back probably 3 or 4 times since, and every time it's there. And it's taunting me, and it's like, do I need that? Maybe, maybe not. Well, this time I went. And again, I was in that position where I found one book, and I packed it away already. It was a Nightwing Annual #2. It was right after, what was it, Batman issue 55 from the current run where Nightwing is shot in the head. And I don't know if you know about
the whole
that
Rick
story.
Grayson thing,
yeah, that's it. Yeah. So this was following up on that. This was like immediately following up on that. It was the only annual I couldn't find anywhere. So I went and I looked it up online, and it's like $25, $30. I'm like, what the hell is this? At this shop, it was cover price. So I was like, okay. I mean, I'm glad I didn't spend more for it. So I bought that, but it was $4.99. So it's like, crap, I drove all the way out here. I'm really going to walk out just spending $5. And I remembered, I wonder if that thing's still there. I wonder if that book is still there. And as I'm walking to it, I passed the Superman back issue bins, and I sent you a picture of this. Because, like, it's all broken up, like Superman Volume 1, Superman Volume 2, and, like, Volume 1 is maybe, like, a foot long. Volume 2 is, like, a foot long. Then there's Bendis Superman, and that's, like, a whole damn thing. It's like, wow, nobody wanted
healthy
that
chunk.
But it's, and I'm thinking, like, who are you marketing to? Like, is anybody like, ooh, Bendis Superman? Huh? Think about the person just walking in off the street. Bendis Superman.
I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just bizarre.
I mean, we don't know anything about anything. But it's like, who are you trying to?
Yeah.
If anything, that you might as well like be pouring anthrax on the books. It's like, stay away. This is garbage. But yeah, there was the Bendis book. But then
Yes, please. I'm
I
getting
get
giddy.
to
I'm
the
getting, dude. I can't. I'm chomping at the bit.
I get to the collected little
Yes,
things here,
please.
and I find a 5-pack of The Adventures of Bayou
Oh
Billy,
yeah, baby, Bayou Billy, yeah. Oh yeah, baby.
which I didn't realize it went 5 issues, but it did. Yeah.
Sweet man. Hey, be more careful with those.
Oh, they can
Take
handle
it
it. They're
easy
Cajun
with
tough
that
here.
Bayou Billy.
Bayou strong.
Now, Bayou Billy is issue 1 was amazing to me
Hmm.
when I first read it because everybody speaks with exclamation marks at the end of
Yeah.
their sentences, so everybody's shouting incessantly. But then I went to
Yeah, they were bit by a radioactive
there
stand.
you go. Then I get to issue 2, and it keeps on going. So I don't remember who the letterer
Hmm.
was on Bayou Billy, but they deserve a
Can we
special
find out?
award, a special recognition.
Can't find out on that one because they'll have cute they'll have cute descriptions here. Pat Brousseau is
Oh,
our
Pat
letterer
Brousseau, bless
and
your heart.
an exclamation point connoisseur
Yeah.
here. Um, Weird thing here though, final issue has a cover by Kelly Jones.
Uh huh.
Who'd have thunk it?
I don't know. Everybody needs
Not someone I
work,
would.
you know.
Yeah. And here in issue 4, Amanda Connor is the Archie artist of the
Mm-hmm.
month. How about
Yep.
that?
Indeed, dude.
And a little bit of advertisement synergy.
Yeah, I know, right? With the video game on the back, and
Yeah.
everybody knows video
Hmm.
game tie-ins. And I know you were talking about Sandland earlier, right? It's always like a cash grab. It's never
Sure.
good, but
Mhm.
I mean, did you read issue 1 of Bayou Billy? What do you think, man? What's going on here?
I read your review of it years
Oh,
ago.
okay, good.
Yeah, yeah, but I haven't read the issue, and I did add them to my little spreadsheet. And you mentioned the exclamation points here. None of the titles have exclamation points. Like they're all just like titles, which is weird
Yeah,
because like I feel like there was a time in comics where every single title had an exclamation point at the
sure.
end of it, but none of Bayou Billy's. I
Wow.
guess maybe they used up their share.
Dude, I'm so happy you bought that. And a little yet again how the sausage is made. For a long time, we would discuss the title because there was one. Was it a wall book or something where you'd see
Hmm.
it at a shop all the time and the cover was detached?
Yeah, it was Bayou Billy number
Mm-hmm.
1. It was in half price books, and the cover was detached, but there was but half price books has those lousy price stickers that they put on the books. They're like super super greasy and just like gunky. They're terrible. And the cover was like hanging on by just like a thread. And it had like $5, a $5 price tag on it. Still, even though it was torn up, and I would go, year after year to that half price books, and it was always there. I think they finally either threw it out or maybe it disintegrated into the bottom of that
Yeah,
bin.
maybe.
But yeah, it was $5 without a cover.
Man, dude,
Yeah,
do you remember my review of that at all? Because I was
vaguely.
gonna say I don't even remember the review. I used to do Two Staple Gold. So if you ever Google Two Staple
Yeah.
Gold, you'll read my reviews of comics. But I was even telling you when you sent me that picture, man, I was like out of my socks, like, wow, this is great. You got
Hmm.
Bio Billy. I'm like, I think I remember it actually being somewhat okay for what it was. You know what I mean? Like in the context of what
Yeah,
it
I mean,
is. But who
sure,
knows? Maybe my
sure.
review, I'm like, this is the biggest piece of crap ever crapped out in Crap Town. I don't know. You
Hmm.
know what I
Hmm.
mean?
It's the worst crap
There
ever
you go.
cracked. Yeah.
Exactly. But I am so happy it's now in your possession. Now, only if you would read
Hmm.
them and let me know what you think of
Maybe,
them. You know?
maybe,
And let the
maybe.
world know what you think about them. Talk about it here on the Bada Bin Show.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm afraid to open it because it is a collector's edition.
Oh, yeah. I know. With the
Hmm.
Nintendo
Look
seal and
out.
everything. Officially
Hmm. Konami.
licensed. Yeah, right. Beautiful stuff, man. Bayou Billy, which,
Hmm.
it's funny because you were talking about the trend and the eras of like the black and white indie comics and the busts and the foil covers and stuff like that. And
Sure.
everything's secular. Everything comes around, goes around. I mean, we're in an era now where people say foil covers are truly where you're going to make money and reselling and yada yada yada. And I always sit there and
Hmm.
go, "Have we learned nothing?"
We have not.
Truly, we have not. But there you go. There's another one of those issues that I was trying to tell you. This is where, if you want to invest, you get to buy multiple
Hmm.
copies of Bayou Billy #1 right now. And
Right now.
the other point I was going to make is Crocodile Dundee. It was a
Oh
hit
yeah.
movie. It was, everybody wanted, that's not a knife. This is a knife. Everybody wanted to be like
Hmm.
Paul.
You call that a
Yeah,
knife?
Paul Hogan. So what does Konami do? We can't get the rights to Crocodile Dundee. Let's create Bayou
Hmm.
Billy. Yay!
But it was called. It was actually called Mad City
Oh,
in Japan.
really?
Yeah. Yeah, and his name was Billy West, and his name is Billy West in this as
Mm-hmm.
well. But the Adventures of Bayou Billy is the American title.
I
Yeah.
wonder who owns the rights to that now. I think maybe crazy
Mm.
idea here. I have not
Hmm.
mentioned this all episode, but if you want to reach out to us, badabinshow at
Oh
gmail.com.
yes.
If it is available, let's start a crowdfunding campaign. We will purchase the rights, the Bada Bin Show. So
There you
you and
go.
I, and then we will relaunch Bayou Billy, and we promise, we
Hmm.
guarantee, if anybody,
With issue number
well,
6.
okay, right? Chris has just guaranteed that we will end every sentence in an exclamation point, every single one of them,
Except the title.
except for the title.
Except the title.
Indeed.
Hmm.
And we will produce a Bada Bin Show Comics Bayou Billy, The Adventures of Bayou Billy. So
Hmm.
let's look into that,
Yep.
everybody. And yet again, contact us,
Yeah.
badabinshow at gmail.com, and let us know if we have your support.
Yes, and everybody who writes in will get to draw their own variant cover.
There we go.
So if we get like 55 messages, 55 variant
Mm-hmm.
covers for issue
Yeah.
6.
Absolutely, man. We can just run the
Hmm.
table with this son of a gun. I'm telling you.
All
I
over
would
it.
do it. I'm not even joking.
No, why not?
I've always wanted to be a writer. I've written some stuff, some fanfic and whatever, and my little
Hmm.
versions of stuff that are sitting online. Yet again, two staple gold. I don't even barely remember half of them. You and I worked on a project together that we never
Hmm.
finished because we're not very good at that. We're the Scott
We're
Snyders
not finishers.
of
Yeah, we're not
our
finishers.
dreams. But yet again, you
Hmm.
hand me Bayou Billy, baby. Something's happening with that. Something's
Hmm.
going down, and it's gonna be out there in the universe with our name
Yeah,
on it.
and I mean we can get a current year Amanda Connor to do a variant cover, right?
Well, that might be too expensive.
Hmm? That's what the crowd. I mean, it's for the love of the game.
Yeah, well,
It's humble
let's put
beginnings.
her to the test and see if she'd be willing to revisit her old Archie stomping grounds. But
We'll just have her put a dot on a piece of paper and just say it's it. She
yeah, I
drew it.
have no idea how much the license for Bayou Billy would actually cost. For all I know, it's like
Hmm.
$10. You know what I mean? Or it could be a hundred
It's
thousand.
gonna
I don't
be
know.
the by issue 7. It's gonna be changed to Swamp Steve,
There you go.
uh,
Right. Right. Exactly.
Foggy
Yeah.
Bruce, yeah,
Oh man, but I'm like I said,
Marsh Matthew.
I am friggin' going cuckoo for little Bayou Billy.
Hmm.
So, Chris, I have to change gears a little bit here. I know we're
Sure.
talking about our new pickups, our recent acquisitions, and that's great. But I
Hmm.
nearly forgot last time out, I meant to show the audience something that I was obligated as an uncle to do because my niece did something very nice for me. And she's
Hmm.
an aspiring artist. She's like 13 years old, drawing all the time. And I said to her, "Hey, can you draw me some Superman? Because I love Superman." I got action figures. Hell, I'm wearing Superman shirts all the time, Superman everything all the time. And she did. And I was like, wow, this is fantastic. You get so much talent. I'm going to show this on my live stream. And then last week,
Hey.
guess what I forgot to do?
Huh.
Show it on my live stream. So,
There
real
you
quick
go.
palette cleanser for everybody. This is my niece Carolina's drawing of Superman for me, which is a very nice token, a very nice gift. So Chris can't see this on his screen right now, but I actually have it hanging up on my
Oh,
wall.
I can't.
Yeah,
see
no,
anything.
but you can trust me. It's very lovely.
Hey.
There we go. Very nice depiction. So, yes, indeed. Thank you,
I'll
Carolina.
catch it on the rewatch.
Yes, thank you very much for providing your schmucky uncle with an original piece of artwork. Now, I hope you become very successful, so that's worth $1 billion someday, more than half the
Hmm.
foil covers and copies of Bayou Billy #1 that I own. So, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right, Chris, you got anything else you want to show off, or am I free to open my box, Pandora's box.
I got a little bit of ephemera, but we'll do that
Okay,
later.
so we're gonna hold off on the ephemera.
Yeah.
All right. Well, mail order, baby. I'm a mail order kind of guy. I love it. You turned me on to it. I used to think it was strictly only for people who lived in the boonies. So I'm like, mail order? Come on, man. And you're like, no, dude, discounts. Save some ducats. So now I am big on mail order, and I got a fresh box. And according to the label, it weighs 6 pounds. So if you guys want to bear with me and kind of see what we got going on in here, this is all pretty much new stuff. I really only have one back issue buy in here, which is a trade, to which I'm actually curious your opinions on and if you've read it, because I have not, hence why I bought it, but the reviews are mixed. Ooh, look at that. I'm cracking it open. It's like the Ark of the Covenant or something. Like light and ghastly air came out. Like, you do not belong here. All right, so right on top is going to be something that you are absolutely in love with, which begs the question, how much Waller is too much Waller? Absolute Power Origins #1 with Amanda Waller right there on the cover, and she resembles the TV movie version. I'm sorry, I get a little bit of a glare there. I'm doing my best to combat that.
Maybe that explains her different looks.
I doubt it. But I was so not interested in her origin that, I subbed to this because I subbed to everything Absolute Power. And then when I saw that it went through, I'm like, uh-oh, cancel, cut. So this is the only issue I'm going to receive. I'm sorry. I'm just really not interested in what's going on with her.
Nobody is.
Well, I mean, it's part of the whole what's going on with DC now, because beyond Absolute Power is they're spinning it off into more stuff like, for example, Justice League Unlimited is going to be a new series from the world's finest team of Mark Waid and Dan Mora. To which...
But isn't Mora going to Superman?
He is. But here's the thing about Dan Mora. These are heavy. Let me put this down for a second.
Okay.
So... Dan Mora, and I was reading a little article. This is a fluff piece on DC.com, so of course it's only favorable to their creative team.
Fair and balanced.
But Mark Waid said something very interesting about Dan Mora, and he said, much like George Perez, Dan just loves drawing any and every DC character that he can. He just loves them. And because Justice League Unlimited is going to have the core of heroes, your Trinity, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the cast is going to be basically rotating in and out. And for Dan Mora, that's his bread and butter, apparently. And now, I think Dan Mora is one of the finest artists in the industry.
Going today,
dude, I bite on some of the things just because he's involved in it, despite how terrible they may be, because no matter what, he can turn Dookie into gold. You know what I mean? Because he's just so talented. He's just a pure... unbelievably talented comic book artist. So with the Absolute Power stuff, and like you said, who cares about Waller? Apparently, she's going to be a key cog going forward.
Well, of course she
with
is.
the new DC universe. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, Dan Mora, man, I'm so excited for his Superman. I'm more than Bayou Billy #1. Give me some Dan Mora soups. I'm all in.
There you go.
Absolute Power will never end because we got Task Force 7. 2 of 7 right here, and I read the first issue. It was pretty gosh darn bad.
Yeah, I flipped through it. It looked boring.
Not great at all. Now, speaking of rotating teams, this has creative teams switch every issue. So this one is...
That tells you how important it is.
John Layman, Rayner, and Guerrero. Well, maybe, but let's hope, some of the creative teams can turn it on a little bit better than the others. This series I've enjoyed quite thoroughly, and as much as I'm a Mark Russell fan and Mike Allred fan, I did not enjoy Superman Space Age. I found it to be very boring. It did have some really good moments in it that I enjoyed, but overall, I don't think it was the best work by either. But Batman Dark Age, I've really been sinking my teeth into it and enjoying it. It's been going to the top of my read pile. So... I know it's not really your bag because it is like yet again an alternate take. How many of those can we really stomach? You know what I mean? But
yeah, I mean, I hate myself more than anything in the world, and I still wouldn't do that to myself.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll have you know it's quite enjoyable, so I do recommend it. This one here is, and I've only read issue 1, so I'm kind of behind on my reading. Blood Squad 7, number 3. This is the Joe Casey Image book. It's
Hmm.
supposed to be a love letter to early 90s Image, and the first issue was decent. It wasn't mind-blowingly good. I think that's why issue 2 is still sitting over there on my bookshelf in the read pile,
Sure.
and didn't get the same kind of attention that Batman Dark Age did. But alas, I'm still
Mm.
going with it because Joe Casey, man, despite the fact he's got to wear sunglasses indoors,
He
I
does.
still
Yeah.
dig his writing. Very strange.
Sure.
Do you ever
No, he's
do
really
you ever
good.
do that? You ever see someone? It's not transition lenses either. It's just someone inside of a store with sunglasses on. You go, dude, you're trying too hard.
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah,
come on,
yeah.
really?
I live in Arizona, so I see that. I see that
Okay,
a
all
lot.
right, but I get is if it's a necessity. Like, all right, it's super sunny outside. Maybe you just don't want to take your sunglasses off because you're going back out in a few more minutes. All right, but if you're in somewhere and you're going to be there for quite a while,
You sit down for a
yeah,
meal.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There we go. Right, you're at the Olive Garden, Cheesecake Factory, what have you, sitting down. Take your sunglasses off, and for the love of Christ, people, no more flip flops. Stop. Just stop. What are you doing?
No
What are
thongs.
you doing?
Yeah, no thongs.
Excellent series, Conan the Barbarian from Titan Comics, which has been a very good series. I know Conan is not your jam, and in many ways, he's sleeping. Those
Oh.
are
Mm.
sleeping sounds, and I get that because
Mm.
what I was about to say was when you think about the old Conan or even the Savage Sword of Conan magazines that you were passing up, when we're talking Roy Thomas is considered the gold standard for Conan writers, and I get it.
Hmm.
Very strange haircut, that man. And to me, very dated and kind of boring. So I get it.
Can be, yeah,
Now,
stodgy.
Jim Zub channels a lot of that, but I think it is a much more action packed, well written series. So hats off to Mr. Zub, which I don't know if is short for something or if that's really his last name. Because if
Oh,
it is, imagine like Zub Zub, I was sitting in the tub. I mean, come on, Zub. I don't know. It's just whatever. But
maybe it's Zoob.
Zoob, maybe it is Zoob. I've never watched any videos with an interview with him and heard his name pronounced correctly. So I'm just going to say Zub Zub in the tub.
Do it.
This I've read the first 2 issues and I've liked them wholeheartedly. Dick Tracy from Mad Cave Studios. I don't really buy much, if anything, from Mad Cave Studios, but
Never even heard
dude,
of him.
much like kids of my generation, the Dick Tracy movie from Warren Beatty was a big deal. And actually, that was my last foray into collecting toys simply to play with them.
Sure.
I believe we have even talked about it on the show before.
We have.
And now this Dick Tracy series is much more adult and gritty and dark. So maybe it's like Dick Tracy Returns, Return of the Dick Tracy.
Mm.
Should have came out in 1986.
Oh yeah.
But it is a much darker turn on the character, adult, but very enjoyable. I've really been digging Dick Tracy. Minor Threats, The Fastest Way Down, number 4. Minor Threats universe. I'm going with it. I'm really behind on it, dude. Super duper behind, so I can't testify to how good Minor Threats has been lately. The first series is kind of like, for me, piggybacking off the success of that first series because I did enjoy it so much that I'm just buying everything Minor Threats related, and that might eventually bite me in the keister. And I won't know until way after the fact because, yet again, I'm so behind on reading them.
Sure.
And a series I am truly enjoying yet again, Rook Exodus, Ghost Machine, which I have found and I've talked about yet again being the best series in the Ghost Machine lineup. So you got issue 1, right?
Maybe.
I'm
They were giving them away at the shop on 4th of
oh
July. Like, oh, if you buy anything, you can take 3 books out of the because they had like a big setup for Ghost Machine.
mm-hmm.
It's like you could take 3 books for free. I'm like, oh, okay. And I took a few
Okay.
books. I don't even know which ones they were.
Well,
Yeah.
if you did grab Rook Exodus, I recommend giving it a read. And another thing is, I'm not even the biggest Jason Fabok fan. Fabok,
Hmm.
Jim Zub, Jason Fabok. Jeff Johns, of course, we've talked about ad nauseum being one of the
Of course.
greatest writers of our or any generation. But even
Mm-hmm.
then, man, I'm really loving Rook Exodus a lot. Like, really good series. And I'm wondering like how far deep I want to go into Ghost Machine
Mm-hmm.
because when they came up with the Ghost Machine 1 special, which you probably also got free out of that little bin, they
Yeah, that one I
they
know I got.
previewed some of the other titles, and one was like Hornsby and Halo, and I thought that looked terrible. I'm sorry, guys, it just did not look good, so I'm not biting on that. Hyde Street is a book that's been solicited. It's coming out in October. Jeff Johns, Ivan Rice, which is like a horror anthology book. That I'll take a nibble on. But yeah, as far as the stable of what they got thus far, Rook. Rook meh. Image, Sacrificers. Yet another book I'm far behind on, but it has been very good. Oh, boy. Now, look, guys, I'm looking at this stuff real time. And I was so utterly disappointed in the first issue of this series. I probably should have canceled it, but at this point, here's the other thing about pre-order, right? Pre-order. So you're ordering 2 months in advance. Yeah, so before you know it, if you don't like issue 1, you've already got the first 3 issues already bought and paid for. Dark Horse, the writer. And the first issue, now the artist is Ariel, I always say his name wrong, Ariel Olivetti. I say everybody's name wrong. But anyway, so please forgive me in advance. And I loved his stuff from way back when. Geez, the early 2000s. Remember he did Cable?
He did like X-Men.
Oh, X-Men. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, just a wonderful, beautiful art. Almost like his style is almost like a painted style. It's just beautiful.
Watercoloring.
And it's written by actor Josh Gad and the Berkowitz brothers. Now, Josh Gad is, of course, maybe most famous for being Olaf from Frozen.
Ooh.
But anytime an actor, and I know it just showed off Minor Threats, which has Patton Oswalt as one of the writers.
Ugh.
All right, keep your regurgitation to yourself there, buddy boy.
Oh, that was knee jerk.
All right, there you go. But it is, you kind of go, all right, they want to jump into comics. You're a little weary about it. But this one I thought would be much better than it was, issue 1, and I was like, ooh, good. So I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm just going to keep going. Plus, with my discount, it's like $2.59, so why not? Let me just finish the story. Oh, look at what we got here. New creative team, Task Force X7, 3 of 7. This, I believe, is also because it's weekly. Hence why I have 2 fresh issues in the stack. Creative team on this is Jeremy Adams, the guy with the last name of Santucci. It's fun to say.
Adams does he do Green Lantern?
He does. And that was one of the books that I had to cut because it started so well and just went.
It started
fell
really
off
well.
the cliff fast. And I'm trying to. Hopefully, I'm not boring anybody to death here as I'm pacing myself as I go through these.
No. Now, did you read Green Lantern past Night Terrors?
I did.
Okay, because I fell off of so many of the Dawn of DC books when Night Terrors hit.
Yeah, Night
Terrors
is
every
terrible.
book was like 3 issues in, and it just like threw everything.
Yeah, that was terrible timing. But to be honest with you,
timing.
everything after Night Terrors for Green Lantern was kind of not as great anyway.
Not
so
great.
the first 3 issues of Green Lantern were indeed very, very good, and yet again felt like a bait and switch. Because you think you're getting one kind of storyline. All right, he's on Earth. It's going to be Earthbound.
And you're back in
He's
space.
back in space before you know it. And, all right. Thanks for teasing me. All right.
Yeah.
I just heard some weird noise. I wonder if it's coming from outside. You hear that?
Yeah.
It sounds like a
landscaping.
Yeah, maybe. Let me close my window. Let me deny myself a fresh air for a minute. So I'm going to get up for a second, okay? I'll be right back with more pulse-pounding excitement for you once I mute up my landscapers. BRB.
There you go.
Feel free to talk amongst yourself.
Oh, okay.
Actually, Chris, real quick, do you have the YouTube open in front of you? I was wondering if you could see if we had any comments on the chat. Maybe you could talk about those while I go slam my windows shut and yell at a landscaper.
Let me find out.
Yeah,
here.
please do.
I'll vamp a little bit.
Okay, I'll be right back.
See what we got.
Yeah, please vamp.
How do I mute this? Okay, here we go. Good morning from Maui, from Honey Province. So thank you so much. Massholt Chef, who was Dave's brother, says hello. Chris Yu is here. He says, "Is that the new James Gunn Superman emblem on that shirt?" I thought it was a Kingdom Come emblem. I don't know. Masshole Chef is having an Arby's roast beef and cheddar while under the gazebo at the center of town. He's enjoying the show right now, and asks who's pumped for the new Beetlejuice. And I didn't know there was.
Yeah.
Why?
Because everything old is new again. As a matter of fact, when you showed off that Comic Connoisseur book, I thought the ElfQuest characters were auditioning for the new Beetlejuice movie.
Oh, they're pretty rough.
Yeah, but As far as my shirt, yes, Kingdom Come, right?
Mm.
Looks like a Kingdom Come shirt, but
Mm-hmm.
he's correct. This is, in fact, the logo for the new Superman movie coming out in 2025. My body is ready.
Why?
I knew you were going to say something like that. And I can still hear these damn landscapers. Can you still hear them?
A little bit, but I mean, it's
I'm doing a live stream here. Mom!
they
Mom!
they
Tell
don't.
the landscapers to shut up! Dude,
And bring me some juice
yeah,
boxes.
meatloaf. But seriously, shut up. Yeah. So, I just went to scratch my ear and hit my earbud. So why? I like some superhero movies, man. I'm excited for a new Superman movie, and to kind of maybe you can feel me on this. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm gonna try to tug at your heartstrings here. James Gunn,
Okay.
the guy behind the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, he's doing.
Who cares?
Listen, did I tear out your freaking thorax? Is thorax on a human or a bug? Your
An
larynx.
insect. Larynx,
Yeah.
yes.
You know what? You are a bug. I'm going to tear out your thorax. Anyway,
Do it.
when you said you
Do
didn't
it.
like Savage Sword of Conan, mad or cracked. Anyway, my son loves those Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and now that he's doing Superman, I'm like, well, maybe if he does it in that similar fashion with a little comedy, a little of this, a little of that, maybe my son will.
Where he abuses 80s soundtracks.
Yeah, totally.
on the
Go
cassettes,
for it.
yeah.
Maybe my son will want to watch some Superman with me. So this shirt is hope. This S means hope. But yeah, very good observation. So there you go. This landscaper thing is going to drive me insane. So
We'll survive.
I don't know, man. How much grass is there really to cut? It's like a little patch.
Yeah, aren't we in a drought?
I don't know, man. Maybe this guy, he just woke up from his, I don't know, he's got DTs or something. He's got to start moving around.
Or maybe he's weed whacking the entire place.
Yeah, it could be.
He's very anal. He's going to get the ruler out. He's going to measure each blade.
Yes.
And weed
There we
whack.
go. So any other comments on there? There's my brother, Chris Yu, somebody from Maui, did you say?
Yes, someone from Maui said hello.
Oh, well,
So I said hello
aloha.
back.
I think that'd be more appropriate, Chris.
The hello version.
Yeah.
Yes, aloha, the
There
hello.
we go. All right, then. Do we want to get back more into my comics now that I've closed the window and
do
barely
it.
muted the freaking landscaper here?
You got to put a mattress up against
I know,
the wall.
right? They got to soundproof this freaking joint. Come on now. Mute the
dat.
screams. So this cover, and I feel like I'm going to keep saying this, so just take this as like gospel. I'm so behind on everything. So this series, yet again, I'm like 5 or 6 issues behind. But the cover is fantastic. It is, pun intended, Fantastic Four. And what issue is this? This is 22.
Wow, it made it 22.
And it keeps on rocking and rolling. But check that out, man. That's pretty dope. Reed Richards getting torn asunder. He's all rubbery, getting pulled on there by his vampires, because I believe this is down there a
It is blood
hunt. Yeah. Actually, it doesn't say blood hunt. It says warning. Weapon X.
It doesn't say blood hunt
Well, it
there?
does in the corner. Yeah.
Oh,
But what
yeah,
I'm saying
yeah.
is this little blurb down here, which I don't know what the hell it is. Kind of, if you notice, caught me off guard there. Warning, weapon extraction continues inside part 3 of 8.
Oh, that's the Wolverine Deadpool cash-in. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but still, I love, man, Alex Ross isn't always my jam, but I thought this is very cool. You didn't,
How are you liking that volume?
despite being behind on it, I think it's okay. It's, it's all right.
I read like the first 4, and it was like, it felt very pointless.
Well, the first 4 is kind of establishing how.
Like some town or
Well,
something?
yes, but it's like filling in the gaps, because what happens is the kids, and I believe it was the Baxter Building, like disappear. Like, what happened? What did Reed do that made the Fantastic Four split up and not talk with each other anymore?
Which is how they start like every volume of Fantastic.
Right? The family's broken up.
That's a circle. It's like the family's broken up. We spend a few issues with them realizing they need to be together. They get back together. They cancel the book.
Yeah, well, hey, as far as I know, it's still going. You know what? Here's the other thing.
It's still going.
I just
now.
made a lot of weird noises out of my face. Sometimes, in some cases, and Fantastic Four is one of them, because I did mention I've still got like 5 or 6 issues to read. When a series hits 20s or up there, I start becoming a little bit more loyal to it, despite the quality.
I can
Just
see
because
that.
you're like, holy moly, it's made it this far.
They didn't cancel
Right,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's longer than 6 issues. Mind blown.
Yeah.
Like,
We're in the double
dude, I'm having
digits.
like a Dr. Phil meltdown. Like I cannot believe it. So even though I can't tell you what's currently happening in the book, I'm still
Mm.
buying the book because I feel like I need to support it. It's almost World's Finest, the Mark Waid book we were
Hmm.
just talking about. Dan Mora left the book. Oh, I should automatically cancel it because it really hasn't been that good.
It's not great.
But
Yeah.
it keeps on trucking, baby, and I feel like I should just
Hmm.
keep going because how rare is that now? It deserves to be
It's
rewarded.
very scary.
You
Yeah.
know. Speaking of which, this is kind of interesting because I really enjoy this series, an indie series from Dark Horse Comics, and it kind of relates to what I was just talking about. This is Operation
Hmm.
Sunshine and Already Dead, number 4. They had another 4-issue series prior to this that I thought was absolutely excellent, and then they stopped, almost like a season, as you would say. You've pointed
Mm.
out to me before, and then they relaunched it with this Operation Sunshine, Already Dead, and I was like, you could have just kept that going and made it Operation Sunshine issue number 5 because it's a continuance of the story. The characters are all the
Yep.
same. There was a cliffhanger at the end of the original series that's leading into this one. Just keep it going. You know what I mean? You're hurting my
Hmm.
feelings, people. But yeah, I do recommend Operation Sunshine. I know it's probably not something you'd ever check out. It's about vampires
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but it's really cool. I enjoy it. Now,
No, coming to Netflix soon, I'm
maybe
sure.
it could be. Actually, it's written by a couple guys apparently who have a podcast. So that was only a matter of
Hmm.
time before someone had a successful podcast and they said, much like the actors I was discussing earlier, do
Yep.
you want to write a comic?
Let's slum
There
it.
you go.
Yep.
One of my favorite series of all time. Please, no guttural responses from you, but I'm very excited that it is
Mm.
back. Saga. Hello. There is a dolphin on the cover. Flipper. His name is Flipper. Thank you for being quiet during that, Chris, because I was waiting for you to say, like, oh, something. I'm not even going to make the noise. Oh, here we go. Absolute Power number 2. Dan Mora, baby. And interesting, look at Superman down there. You see him in his awesome black suit, his rejuvenation outfit. I love that
Hmm.
outfit, man. The black and silver dude. Come on,
Oh yeah.
dude. So I did rave about Absolute Power number 1, to which the responses from that were not the same as my own. I get it. I understand it. Chris, you read it, said eh. You read it, said eh. I'm like, this is great. And
Yeah.
that's why the whole Legends thing came up. All because of Absolute Power number 1. So it's the gift that keeps on
Something
giving.
that was done better 40
All
years
right,
ago.
well, maybe that's true. All right, but still, yet again, here we are, and I can't take it back now. Ain't
Silver spoons.
I wasn't gonna say it because I do it every episode, but you just had to fill that
Hmm.
in, didn't you?
I had to do it.
Ain't No Grave. This is issue 4. I've read the first 3. Yet again, beautiful issues to look at story wise. Meh, meh, meh,
Hmm.
meh. I probably could have waited for a trade or something if I really wanted the art that bad, but
Sure.
what are you going to do? I'm almost at the end, guys. I swear to God. This is the longest showing off of new comics ever. Alternate universe reality stuff here just for you, Chris.
I got
You
that
do?
one.
Okay, Death in the Family, Robin Lives. This
Hmm.
one's a little bit late because I subscribed to the series late. I started with 2, so I had to grab this. This is technically a back issue because I had to pay full price
There
for
you
this. Like a sucker. But here we are. Rick Leonardi, who I don't think gets enough love for.
Oh,
He's a
yeah.
fantastic artist from my youth. And
Hmm.
DeMatteis.
Absolutely.
DeMatteis, DeMatteis, any which way you say it.
That guy.
That guy has always been a pretty solid writer.
Sure.
Has some more hits, has some misses, but still pretty darn good. The Deviant, which is a James Tynion book here from Image, that's actually been pretty solid. I'm trying to speed through the last little part of the stack here.
Yeah, I'm wondering if DC is regretting canning Vertigo at this point. Like so many of their core writers are going to Image to do their creator-owned stuff.
Well,
Where before it would be like a no-brainer. It's like, hey, we have Vertigo right here.
Well, beyond all
But
that,
it's like John's is gone, Tinian's doing his thing. It's
yeah, well, they
weird.
want their own imprints, right? And then
Hmm.
some of the other,
DC was handing them out like candy not
I
too
know,
long
right?
ago.
So why did that even
Yeah,
stop? I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, I know there's distillery media, which was started by a bunch of creators. Um, a lot of creators have hopped to smaller publishers because they have like yeah can launch their own books, their own
Hmm.
imprints, and freedom, which was always the thing back in the day, right? It was like,
Hmm.
why did Image get started? Because these guys wanted to
Sure.
get paid what they want
They wanted to own
and
their
own their own
stuff.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you think the big two is kind of caught up with the times, but alas, um,
But Vertigo used to be that.
yeah,
Like Vertigo was creator owned. You mean people had, Neil Gaiman had his own imprint basically. It's weird,
right,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I guess we're gonna have to call Mr. Tinian up personally and say,
Yeah.
why did you choose to create the Deviant for Image rather than
Yeah.
DC? Couldn't you have asked
Well, I
for?
mean, there is no Vertigo anymore.
I know, but
I
here's the
mean,
thing: is Tinian in particular, he has some horror stuff at DC. Now, DC,
oh,
don't
that's right.
forget, they have a horror imprint called Hill House.
Hill House.
So
Yeah.
why didn't it land up there? What's going on?
Yeah.
Why are you
Weird.
spreading things around? Why are you diversifying where you're
Yeah.
publishing? Is there a reason for this? I mean, that's
Yes, I remember.
interesting.
Because like Marvel tried something, because they had Epic, of
Mm-hmm.
course, and then they tried bringing that back, and that was bizarre and terrible. But then they did Icon, like where they like brought powers from Bendis over, and I think Brubaker did some stuff for
Mm-hmm.
Icon, and wasn't Kick-Ass? Wasn't that
I
Icon
believe
too?
so. Kick-Ass is
Might have
something I've
been.
never read.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. To make you happy, I've seen the film, both of them, but I've never read the book.
No,
Um,
no, because we had a comic store out here, Atomic Comics, that I guess either was shown in Kick-Ass the
mm-hmm.
movie or had some sort of a tie-in with it, because like they had Kick-Ass shit stuff
Yeah.
everywhere. It was just like nuts.
Well, I don't
But
remember
I
seeing
got
it.
them, and yeah,
All right. Well,
yeah, they were, yeah.
okay.
John Romita.
I still think it's an interesting question, and maybe somebody out there knows.
I don't know how to respond.
Hello, maybe she knows. How come she keeps
She might
piping in every
know.
show? Mine got active too for some reason.
I
When I was talking
know.
about Ned and Boulders, nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
But yeah, like why?
They're still working on the fan
Like
kit.
creators, do they want like their resume to look a certain way? I've written for this publisher, that publisher. I mean,
Yeah.
what's the reason behind that? Is it pay? Is it creator rights? Is it percentage of how much you own of any property you do? Reprint rights? I mean, it could be
Yeah.
so many different things. I don't know. I'm not
That's weird.
in the industry, so but still, I'm very curious about that. And Tinian in particular, he's all over the place. So that'd be a little factoid I'd like to find out. And if you do know, please email us
Let us know.
badabinshow@gmail.com or drop a comment in the anywhere, the videos, Instagram, all that good stuff. All right, I swear to God, I'm almost done because I only got
Oh yeah, we're still doing that.
yeah. Hey, my adventures with Superman based on the animated series, which actually hasn't been half bad, and I don't like anime at all. And I think I told you, my son's like, Dad, that's anime. I'm like, no, it's Superman. He's like, no, it's anime. And I tried to deny it. And I tried to argue with him, but apparently, no, it's anime. You can tell by the cover it looks like anime. But yeah, it's been all right. And plus, it's a Superman book. Come on, you got me hook, line, and sinker. And last but not least, my one real legitimate back issue purchase. Let me take it out of the bag and board here because it's a trade.
Hmm.
I don't know if
There
you've
you
ever
go.
read it. Actually, this ties into Legends too a little bit due to the writer. The Kents.
No.
You've never read The Kents, which is John Ostrander and Tim Truman, who worked on some Jonah Hex stuff, some of the Vertigo Jonah Hex stuff.
Hmm.
And I thought it'd be interesting because it's a Western. It doesn't directly have any Superman stuff in it, but it is the ancestors of the Kents in the Old West. So I decided to pick that up and give it a shot. It wasn't
Because
expensive.
someone demanded it, I guess.
Well, hey, I believe there's a 12-issue maxi series when it came out,
Hmm.
and I don't remember the year it came out. But what year was this trade?
Mid '90s,
Was
I'm
it?
thinking.
Yeah. Ooh, something's in my trade. What the heck? What is this? Hold on.
Bookmac.
Yeah, but it's like Gobs and Gobs of Free Stuff by Matthew Lesko with Mary Ann Martello.
Matthew Lesko, that's the dude with the Riddler outfit,
Well,
isn't it? The guy with the question marks all over his
I think
jacket?
so. From the commercials, the
Yeah,
infomercials.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like someone detached. It's got a little perforation on the bottom.
No joke. So, yeah, somebody was using that
Bookmark.
as a bookmark.
Oops.
Matthew Lesko.
Yeah, and on the back it says, "The Onion presents Our Dumb Century, 100 years of headlines from America's finest news source." So it's an ad for a book from The Onion.
Hmm.
Huh. Well, that's an interesting. There you go. There's some ephemera for you.
Yeah. There you
Look at
go.
that.
Some Lesko
I'm just
ephemera.
like that's in demand. That's in high demand. Yeah, so I'm just flipping through
I'm
this
sure
thing
there's a
and
Facebook group.
well, I'll tell you what. Wait, say that again.
I said, I'm sure there's a
Oh, I thought you
Facebook
said you were
group for Matthew
in
Lesko.
the Facebook group.
Oh no.
This
No.
is like right in the beginning, so if it was used as a bookmark, I'm gonna put it back in there where it belongs.
They didn't get
They
far.
did not get very far, so I will read the Kents and I will get back to you to let you know how it is because much like my non-specific love for Jonah Hex, since I'm not going to cite the best issue of all time, I do like some period westerns every once in a while. But that does it for Dave and his fresh stack of comics, the new books that have arrived in the mail for moi. I hope you enjoyed that
There you go.
hour-long segment of me just showing off comic book covers.
It brings us into many different conversations, so it's all
Yeah, there
good.
you go. And you with a lot of different guttural sounds,
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
works too. But yeah, so let me put these back and not damage them in this beautiful box that was provided to me by the person who takes all my money for my comics. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, you mentioned you also have some ephemera going on. You get some. I mean, you always have ephemera. You have the, like I said, the reigning
I do.
king of ephemera.
I got stuffs. Yep.
All right, do you want to show off some of that stuff before we move on?
Sure, sure. And I can't remember if I ever showed this stuff off before. I think I might have, but maybe not here. Just some stuff that, your local retailer might leave on their counter. We've
Okay,
talked
yeah.
about that kind of stuff before, little buttons and stuff. Um, and it's like the stuff they choose to advertise is weird. Have a coupon from Marvel Burger
Oh,
to promote the Nova book that Eric Larson
yeah.
did, probably 1998 or
Yep.
so. Um, Not a great book. Really not a great book. I think they relaunched New Warriors around that time too, where they gave Nova this awful, awful costume. I think Jay Ferber wrote that,
Mm-hmm.
and like a major plot point was like, oh yeah, we realize that this is a bad costume, so here's the regular costume back. Um, Another thing here was a ticket to a fight between Sabretooth and
Oh, I
Wolverine.
remember that whole
Yeah,
hullabaloo. Sure.
garbage story. Absolute trash story. This was Chris Claremont's return to the X
Mm-hmm.
books before his return to the X books. Garbage. Like it was like at the end, it was like revealed that he was married to Viper, and like there were all these like every woman in Wolverine's life showed up. It
Oh,
was
that's not fun.
yeah, it was not great.
Okay.
Not great. Speaking of not great, you remember sometimes there would be like postcards with like advertisements on it.
Absolutely.
Um, this might be a postcard for one of the worst comics ever, and it is the Byrne Mackey Spider-Man reboot. A postcard for it. I mean, I guess Marvel really thought that this was going to be good, and it was not.
I bought it.
Some of the worst comics. Oh, so did I. So
I
did
mean,
I.
I was all excited when it first came out. I'm like, oh, John Byrne back on Spider Man. Here we go, baby. Howard Mackey's great.
Well,
You know, I.
well, Byrne had been
Yeah.
back, and it was terrible. He was back at the tail end of the
Yeah,
first
didn't
book,
he also do like a year one? Or was that before or after that?
chapter
Chapter
one,
one. That's what
chapter
it
one,
was. Thank you.
which was
I
garbage.
know. I know.
And it was one of those. It was one of the first times I saw the comics press spin something, and because this was, 1998, early internet, relatively speaking, and I don't remember which of the shill sites it was, but people were talking about how terrible the Byrne Spider-Man Chapter One was, And one of the people reviewing it mentioned that they were upset that Peter got a computer instead of a microscope. Like in Amazing Fantasy 15, he's gifted a microscope, but in Chapter One, he's gifted a PC, a computer. You know, not a big deal at all. So the comics news sites use that to spin the entire negative reaction to, oh, they just can't stand it when they make changes like this. And it's like, nobody cares about the computer. It's a bad story. It's a bad comic. Byrne was not doing great art at that point. It was just unnecessary and terrible. I think like he used it to like reintroduce his Marvel: The Lost Generation people. There was like a Captain Marvel character, like where it's like a kid who turns into like a buff dude or something, then who then showed up in like the mainstream books. It was not good, not good at all.
Right.
But there was a little advertisement for it. I grabbed it and I didn't throw it out. So there it is. Last bit here was, I think this was from a Wizard magazine that just it fell out of a binder I was looking through this morning.
Oh.
It's a Xavier Institute diploma.
Oh, the plumber. He came to fix a toilet.
Yeah.
Oh, diploma. Okay.
Yeah. So if you wanted to like jot your name in there, you could be you could have a whatever degree from the Xavier
Yeah.
Institute.
What kind of degree would you like from the Xavier Institute?
Optic.
I was thinking you were going to say that. There you go.
Yeah.
Your bachelor's degree in optic blasts. You can have it, everybody. Now,
Yep, with an undergrad in science.
right. Banff. Now, where are you finding all this stuff? Because you said you found that in a box this morning. Did you originally grab that when it was released, kind of thing? Same thing with the Spider-Man postcard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those were just things that I'd gathered. I don't throw anything out. Like in that same binder today, I found like a whole bunch of like those the little folded posters from Wizard magazine and stuff, and just stuff that was like on counters and junk like that. It's weird. Yeah, they really don't do that kind of stuff anymore, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, you're right. I'm thinking like nowadays. Well, again, because I buy mail order, I don't go to a comic book shop every week to buy new comics.
Oh, I'm in a few a week.
So I don't know. Yeah, see, I might jump into a comic book shop just to dig a couple times or once a month. And even then, when I'm at the counter, it's not like I'm, examining what they got for any freebie stuff up there. Like in the old days, buttons and yeah, like you said, postcards and all sort of random crap.
Lantern.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever they might have laying around, So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it ain't as exciting as it used to be. It ain't as yeah, I guess like they could just leave QR codes everywhere, and you could it's like, oh, there it is. Just like you pointed this out to me. I guess all the new X-Men books end with a QR code now.
Yeah, that didn't bode well from the publisher, from the fandom. That did not work.
Yeah, people should have lost their jobs for that.
Well, they were trying to play off the extra credit scene thing with that. Like, hey, it's like if you go to the theater, you got to sit through all the credits to wait for your little bonus material. Well,
garbage.
If you want to see what happens after this page, you got to scan it with a QR code. And I still don't know how to do it. I know most people like, yeah, you just open up your camera and your phone automatically, does it. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, that's all it is. But I mean, it's like, so we don't get complete stories in print anymore?
Well, yet again, here we go. That was kiboshed. That's not going to happen anymore. So the backlash was too strong on that one. And we're not reliving.
I mean, these books are $5 each.
Yeah.
And you're gonna make me scan a code to get the end of it?
I know. I know, that's terrible. No. It's really not great at all.
No.
But alas, they tried it, and you said someone should have been fired over that. Maybe not. We're not the people signing the checks over there. You know what I mean? But it was not a good idea. And to have that much backlash and that many people upset about it, especially in this day and age where so many folks just want to be positive and happy about everything all the time, despite
they want to get their goodie
bags. Yeah, right. Yeah. That means it's really not well thought out and very poorly received.
Poorly received.
Very much so. So yeah. Now, if you love QR codes and you can't get enough of them, send us one at badabinshow@gmail.com, and we will probably send you something terrible in the mail as a result.
And Dave will try to
I will
scan it
try.
for
Yeah.
hours
That
upon
happened to me
hours.
last night. My son had a back to school night, and they're selling
Mhm.
Spirit T-shirts, and they were cheap. They were like $5 a piece because apparently they're from last
Mhm.
semester or something, or last school year. I don't know. It's been so long
Mhm.
since I've been in school. 1996 semester, school year. What's the difference?
Sure.
But so they're $5 a piece, and I'm with my wife, and we're like, "How do you pay?" Because I was thinking, a lot of times now you can just Zelle somebody or whatever. You don't need like a full kiosk or something to swipe your card anymore. And I never carry cash ever. And they were like, "Yeah, scan this QR code." And right when they told me that, like, I think my wife saw my face, like, "Oh no, I don't know how to do that." Like, this is gonna be like the computer meme with like Linda and like, like help me. And she immediately pulled out her little thing from her purse. Was like, "I got two fresh fives here. I'll pay in cash." I was like, "Thank you,
Oh, good.
thank you so much." Because this QR, I was gonna be embarrassed. Plus, there's like people behind me waiting, and I
Of
don't want to be
course.
like, "Hey, Oldie Olson, it's a QR code, you dummy. Come on now, get with the times." It's like,
Just open the
yeah,
camera.
open the camera. You don't need to watch Ned and Boulder's on pay-per-view anymore. You can
Hmm.
just go and watch it for free online. Come on now.
There you
Use your
go.
brain cells,
There you
son.
go.
Use your brain cells. So, yeah.
You don't got to go through the woods and get that
The
that
Johnny
magazine that was
Appleseed of
left in.
porn.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. Just because my friend Nate, who passed away, that was one of his things he
Hmm.
talked about. But there was something else I wanted to bring up to you that he had mentioned to me that blew my mind.
Hmm.
And do you know Tony Danza? Are you familiar with his work? Yeah,
Angela. Yeah, yeah, I
Mona
know.
Samantha.
Mona.
So Tony Danza,
Hey,
this
oh, oh,
I
hey.
thought this was great because he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "if you look up Tony Danza yet again online, look him up online, look at his IMDb or his credits or whatever,
He always goes by
always by
Tony.
Tony." And I was like, "Seriously?" And I
Hmm.
looked it up, and I'm like, every movie he's in, every TV show he's in, he's
Yeah,
Tony.
he's always Tony.
And I was like, "Man, can you imagine that? Like, you wrote this script, and you're like, yeah, this is part for a character named Wesley. This is a period piece, England, 1864." You hire Tony Danza. You're in the read, the first read. The whole cast and crew is there,
Yep.
and they're like, "Okay, Wesley, your line."
And he doesn't respond.
Crickets, nothing. They're like, "Tony, Tony. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Sorry about that." And then thou'th does rise like the sun, you know. So someone's just like, "Dude, you got to call him Tony, otherwise he's not going to respond. You're going to be on set,
Yep.
and he's not going to say his line
Hmm.
unless you acknowledge him as Tony or Anthony.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a mind-blowing fact.
I think Anthony's like a
There you
50%
go, right?
chance.
That's a stretch. So
Yeah.
Nate, rest in peace wherever you are. But some of the wisdom that you brought to the table with me in our friendship over the years, that's up there. Something I'm always going to remember. That Tony Danza only answers to
To
Tony.
Tony.
Only plays characters named Tony. So imagine
Hmm.
if he's like a biopic or biopic about like a a real life character. Let's say John F. Kennedy. We're hiring you to
Hmm.
play John F. Kennedy. He's like, "You're gonna have to call me Tony F. Kennedy. We're gonna have to change
Hmm.
that a little bit.
TFK.
TFK. It's gonna have to switch it around. All right, can you play Jim Morrison? I can play Tony Morrison. That's who I can play."
That's a different singer.
Exactly. That's who I can play. Oh my lord. Anyway, we got to move on.
Tony Ali, the greatest.
Fly like a butterfly, sting like a Tony. So yeah, let's move on from that.
Tony Skywalker.
All right, enough. Enough. We could do this all day. We really could,
We could.
but we're not gonna.
Tony Juice. Tony Juice.
Tony Juice, yeah. I'm sorry. Tony Danza is probably like wherever he is right now. He's extremely old. I know
Mhm.
he's probably very, very rich and well respected. And here we are,
I'm
just a
sure.
couple of schmucks on a comic book show making fun of the poor guy. And he's,
Maligning his good
yeah,
name.
yeah, exactly.
His only
And right
name.
now,
His
he's
only
in a
name.
terry cloth robe, just getting out of the hot tub, looking at,
Mhm.
some beautiful models or something, going, "Yeah, I don't care about those guys. They ain't named Tony. Doesn't matter to me."
Now, he's actually furiously typing to badabinshow@gmail.com.
That'd be great. Imagine if we had a beef with Tony Danza. How awesome that
Mhm.
would be. And listen, I don't even dislike the guy. I'm just pointing out an observation
No,
a
no.
friend of mine made about the dude. But imagine, like, if anybody you could just, like, start an online fight with, who would you want it to be?
Tony Danza.
And I would never have said until this very moment Tony Danza, but I am so ready for it.
Back on the treadmill, Reggie and I would always try to link Chevy Chase to anything we were talking
Really?
about. Yeah, because Chevy Chase's uncle is Bob Haney,
Yeah. Okay.
the Teen Titans
Yeah.
guy.
Crazy, or
So
was it zany Bob Haney?
Zany
Mm-hmm.
Haney, yeah. So every time we did a show, we tried to work in a Chevy Chase reference.
Okay.
And they were always very, very big time stretches, but it was always like, oh, and that brings us to Chevy Chase. So, nothing ever came of it, of course.
Yeah, he doesn't care about you. No.
Nor should he.
I actually have a Chevy Chase action figure up here from Christmas Vacation, and it's by McFarlane, and it's one of the ugliest pieces of crap you'd ever see. Like, they put no effort into it whatsoever, and it's limited to like 3,000 pieces. So 3,000 pieces of junk got shipped out, and I'm one of the proud owners of one of them.
You own.
Yeah. So, Chris, now to get off actors and Tony Danza and everything, I've been trying to sway us away from that. I've been working on it, but you resist like nobody's business. Last week, I mentioned hunting and my hunting habits with my friend Beto and how I betrayed him.
Oh, yes.
So yesterday I was speaking to Beto and I said, man, we're doing a new live stream tomorrow. I'm begging you, I urge you, please write in and absolve me of my sins that you've forgiven me. You know what I mean? That it's okay. Because I talked to him about it. Because even though we discussed it on the show, he didn't watch that live. And so I warned him, hey, man, if you watch the replay, I discussed you and you're not going to like it. Okay? So I had to come clean. I had to unburden my soul. Darkness came out. And he was pretty okay with it. You know, he wasn't like, oh, damn you, burn in hell, or any kind of negative.
Friendship canceled.
Yeah, exactly. None of that kind of stuff. But I've learned a long time ago, before you bear bad news, and this is basically a wonderful idea or advice to anybody who's a married man or a married person.
The good news sandwich?
Well, you kind of come with a gift. You bring roses to your wife or maybe some jewelry or something if you're apologizing. It always kind of softens the blow and makes things a little bit more palpable, easier to go down, you know. But so I was in Ollie's, which I was discussing earlier, and I found these. Now this, let me see if I can make it into a big screen so everybody can see it a little bit better. This is Batman 89, and it's like it's from Jada Toys. So it's like a replica, almost like a Hot Wheels type thing. I don't know if you can see it very good.
Oh, yeah.
But I made sure I bought two. So one was for Beto. And so when I was like, hey, man, I got some bad news for you. By the way, here's a Batmobile. And by God, I think it worked. Yeah. So there you go. Everything went smooth. But he did not write the email. And he said, I don't know if I can truly forgive you yet. So just to follow up on that, I'm still a little in the doghouse with my good pal, Beto.
Have you read 9 issues of Heroes in Crisis?
No, I have not. And I never will. That's going to be forced upon me by Satan himself. He'll be poking me in the ass with his fiery trident saying, read, Tom King.
Yep. That's how you're going to absolve yourself.
Yeah, no. There's got to be another way, Chris. There has to be.
If Beto is watching live or in the replay, that is what you need to tell Dave. You need to tell him that is the only way that you'll ever forgive him.
No, Chris, don't put those kind of ideas in his head.
Heroes in Crisis.
That's a nine panel of hell. 9 issues of 9-panel hell? No, thank you.
Yeah, nine panels, 20 pages times 9. That's a lot of panels.
It's got to be something else I could read. There's got to be something else to pay the price. I mean, something else that's just terrible. And I don't know, man. Like, to me, that's the worst. That's like if I murdered somebody.
I think that's what I'm going to make a Tom King rosary bead necklace, where every bead is a 9-panel grid, and you have to get through the entirety of this of the rosary.
But yet again, man, we're saying this is like reserved for really some terrible human beings. Just going on one bin dive without my bin dive partner.
All things are relative.
Okay, all right.
All things are relative.
Do you have anything you'd like to discuss or talk about? I know you got to kind of split soon because you have some chores to do today, so we get a little bit of time left, I can tell.
A little bit of time.
So was there anything that you wanted to dive into or discuss before I think we got email from Chris Yu, who's our
We do have an
regular.
email.
We might as well just call the Bada Babble segment like "You Said It" from Chris Yu, because
There
he
you
writes
go.
in
There you go.
religiously all the time, so he probably deserves a little credit for that. But
I think
anything
so.
you'd like to talk about before we get into that, or no?
No, I came wholly unprepared. So, yes, I have nothing prepared. So,
That's fine.
we can hop into the
All
email.
right, well, that works. I forwarded it to you from the Bada Bin Show Gmail
Mm-hmm.
account, and I do urge more people to write in, because Chris Yu writes in
Absolutely.
every week. We've had some other people write in, but he
Mm-hmm.
always writes a very long, in depth email, and he watches the show
Yes.
thoroughly, and we truly appreciate it. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
more correspondence
Yes.
is
Very
always welcome.
rich. Yes, very rich missives
Yes,
from our friend Chris Yu.
indeed.
And he says, if we're ready to
Yeah,
go.
totally, man. Let's dig
Okay.
in.
He says, great to have you back this week. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder, and I've grown kind of fond of this show. Lucky for me, I was off this Friday and I got to watch the whole show live. But enough about me, let's get to the Bada Babble. He says, I have mixed feelings on the return of the classic DC Bullet.
Huh?
On the one hand, it's the DC logo from my youth, so it's going to be nice to see it again. But since I basically only read old comics, that I get to see that logo a lot already. Then on the other hand, if the stories inside those new comics aren't any good, it really doesn't matter what logo is on the cover. It's just a case of putting lipstick on a pig, to use that nostalgic logo on subpar stories. The DC Bullet won't make Heroes in Crisis any better.
Damn you.
And that's true.
Damn you. Okay.
That is
All right, this
true.
is true.
That is true. And I mean, that's kind of what we were talking about. It's like it's going to evoke feelings from people of our vintage, I
Mm-hmm.
think. And then when we get inside and it's like, what is this? It's don't know. Chris continues. The rewind read project. The rewind.
Rewind reads.
That's when you put the skin back on the orange.
Yeah.
Rewind read segment really spoke to
Uh-huh.
me. Reading old comics is my whole fandom these days. And thanks to Dave, I recently reread Legends for the first time since it came out. And let me tell you, it didn't disappoint one bit. It was an incredible point in DC history that makes me want to go back and reread all the books that debuted around that time. And I think that is something very special about Legends, is that it was like the first post-crisis crossover.
Mm-hmm.
So very seminal in the post-crisis landscape. A lot of stuff launched from it, including that one really, really big book, right?
Yeah, Cosmic
But
Boy.
there it is. There it is. That 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 book always made me want to reach for a Pepto Bismol because there's so much pink on those covers. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Rick,
Chris
before you
continue.
continue,
Okay.
there's something, because we don't
Sure.
operate with notes, because we're truly
No.
professionals here. But since I just flipped this
Mm-hmm.
open, this Legends open, something I didn't mention when I was kind of doing my rewind reads, which just rolls off the
Mm-hmm.
tongue. Something I enjoyed about John Byrne's art in here is
Mm-hmm.
that when he does Apocalypse and Darkseid, like all the characters from that era,
The big
New
craggy
Gods,
dudes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, like the sausage fingers and the scraggly teeth that are very
Mm-hmm.
Jack Kirby homage.
Oh yeah.
I thought he did a wonderful job with that. And, you'd mentioned like later on when he did the Spider-Man stuff, his art really fallen apart. For me, I think Namor,
Mm-hmm.
when he did the Namor series, he did all that like cross hatching and different stuff. It was
Oh yeah.
fantastic. It was great. So
Mm-hmm.
he's had like different kind of eras where yeah,
Iterations.
exactly,
Yeah.
where he's tried different stuff. But this was very, very good. So I said it
Mm-hmm.
again.
Yeah. Definitely peak Burn
Mm-hmm.
there.
Chris
Um,
continues.
let's see here. Chris
Mm-hmm.
continues. He says, I never read Robinson's Starman, but that's on my need to read list. I picked up the number 0 issue, but didn't bite on the monthly series. I chose to buy Xenobrood instead. So you know how big
Huh.
of an idiot I have that entire run too. The Hulk era that Dogs of War is from is also a blind spot for me. I stopped buying the Hulk when Peter David left and didn't pick it up again until Planet Hulk. And just for the record, the Peter David era with the merged Hulk and the Pantheon is my favorite version of the Hulk. Me too. Although I do want to read Incredible Hulk 272 through 300 and experience the time that Bruce Banner was in charge of the Hulk's form. The Hulk from the original Secret Wars series intrigues me. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about Planet Hulk, have we?
No, not yet. And
I mean, just like even off the air, I don't think we've talked much about it other than the fact that they just won't stop going back to it.
Yeah, and I think there was one time we talked about Greg Pak,
Mm,
because Greg Pak, of course, was the writer of Planet Hulk, and that was his the paramount of his career.
his opus, yeah.
But overall, I'm not a fan of his. I don't really enjoy much of what
No,
he's written.
mm,
You've even mentioned the Superman stuff was like god awful,
not
not
good.
good. The
Yeah.
Batman Superman stuff. But as far as talking about the importance of Planet Hulk, no, we've never discussed on the show. So I guess yet again, put a pin in it. And I feel like I say
Hmm.
yet again all the time. Why do I keep repeating the same? Give me something new to say instead of yet again.
I'll try. I'll
Okay,
try.
think
I'll
of
try.
something, come back to me, hit me up with that. But if that's
I'll put a pin
here we
in
go. If
that.
that's something you'd like to discuss and make it a topic in the future, we could do like a Planet Hulk reread or discuss the importance of it.
Could do that.
Because some crummy stuff actually came out of it too. But I will say this before.
I thought it was largely kind of,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, my point on it
Hmm.
being a Hulk fan, Hulk was what got me into the game, right?
Hmm.
So I'll always love Hulk. I've shown off the Hulk tattoo. The Hulk is so important to me. Even as a matter of fact, I was in the shop the other day digging, and out of nowhere, the shop owner's like, "Oh yeah, we get some Hulk over here," and I'm like, "I didn't ask for any Hulk." Oh, he saw my leg. That's what it was.
Oh,
He must
okay.
have saw the tattoo and just naturally assumed that's what I
Mm,
was looking for. My thing was the importance of the Hulk as a character,
hmm.
and Planet Hulk was such a big deal and gets so many people jazzed and about the Hulk.
And there was a reason for it to exist.
Exactly.
There was a reason for it.
Exactly. You know,
Yeah.
he's coming back to exact his revenge on the Illuminati who banished him from the Earth as a way to,
Yeah, they got him out of the way for Civil
yeah,
War. Yeah.
that and just to, find, how do we deal with the Hulk? Well, you can't kill him. You can't do, let's just send him off into space and
Yep.
see what happens there. So that's important. That's big. That's great. The story
Sure.
itself, like you said, you can live without a lot of the elements of it. I get it. And yeah, so we can dive into that in the future, perhaps.
Cool,
Hmm.
cool. Back to Chris. He says the stock report flyer takes me back, and that's a reference to a piece of ephemera from last time, which was a quarterly report from Marvel's stock, I guess, from 1996 when it wasn't doing so hot. He said Marvel went public when I was in college, and my one friend who was into comics like me bought Marvel stock as part of a project for a business class he had. I don't think he was able to retire early when he got rid of that stock. I'd like to think that maybe he could. I don't know. I don't know if he'd be all that comfortable, but maybe.
I got one share. I'm
Um,
going with him.
there you
Boca
go.
Vista.
Um, Chris says, I always thought that Roy Thomas invented the term retcon. I seem to remember him using it in letters columns of the All Star Squadron in the early 80s. And that very well could be true. That absolutely could be true. I'm sure it was something that was used in the early days of organized fandom, which I kind of put Roy Thomas and what was that other guy? Jerry Bales, maybe? I kind of put them at the forefront of organized comic fandom. So it certainly wouldn't surprise me if retcon was out of the Thomas lexicon. Seeing that first issue of DC's Blue Beetle just made me add that series to my need to read list. That and the DC Captain Atom series as well. I started reading that Blue Beetle series when the Titans guest starred. I never read the early issues. Now Captain Atom, that was I think that was Carrie Bates, and that one went for like 60 something
That
issues.
was
I think
the
it went a
Pat
while.
Broderick was the artist on that one.
Yes, absolutely,
Talking about artists hitting their stride, he was very, very good on Captain
absolutely.
Atom. Yeah. You said what? How many issues? 60?
I think it went even
Oh,
more.
wow.
Yeah, I'd have to look it up, but I know it was I found all of those in quarter
Mm-hmm.
bins. Like I think I need like two
Okay.
issues, and I just never prioritized wrapping it up. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that run's interesting because I like if you talk to anybody about it, they remember one issue of it, and it's where the Neil Gaiman death showed up. I don't know if you're familiar with that
I am
story,
not.
are you?
No.
Okay. Yeah, the death shows up, and I guess Gaiman kind of threw a fit. He wasn't happy with how she was portrayed, and that's kind of what tipped the first domino in DC having sort of a gentleman's agreement with him, where they would ask him or consult him anytime they wanted to use one of the Endless characters. And I don't think we saw Death again until that Lex Luthor's Action Comics
Mm-hmm.
run. I don't know if you're familiar with that, from about 2010 or so. Like if you're looking through like price guides, that's like the only issue of Action Comics for hundreds of issues that's worth
Yeah.
anything. It's because it's got Death on the
Mm.
cover. Um, but that's always what I think back to when I think of that Captain Atom series too, because the run in and of itself is kind of just there. Um, Nothing really rock your socks or anything. Chris continues. It's funny that you should hold up a Huntress comic and then a Wonder Woman comic. I actually used to own Wonder Woman Volume 1, issues 271 through 295. I bought them just for the Huntress backups in those issues. I'm a hardcore pre-Crisis Earth 2 fan. And Wonder Woman's a weird one in the bins. I don't know if this is just in my neck of the woods or is it widespread here. Pre-Crisis Wonder Woman and even that Volume 2, you don't really see too many of them in the bins. How about you?
I really never encountered Wonder Woman in the bins, and I'm not a Wonder Woman
Hmm.
fan. I think I've already established this.
I don't think there are many.
Yeah.
I really don't think there are many, at least for the comics. The character in and of herself and the other media, sure, but the comics, I think it's kind of a niche book that they're trying to make not seem niche. And I think because I was asking, what was it? I was looking for one issue because it had a bonus book in it. Back when I was doing the daily blogging, I did the DC bonus books. Those little inserts that they shoved in them. And one of the last ones I needed was an issue of Wonder Woman. And I went around, did my 75-mile loop around town trying to find this damn issue. And everybody I asked, they're like, yeah, we don't, there isn't much Wonder Woman in the back issue bins. He's like, and one guy who'd been in the business for a while, he's like, that book never sold. So not many people bought it to begin with, so you're not going to find it in the bins. I ultimately did find it that day. It took forever to do it, but I found the issue I was looking for. But it was a little bit of an education, from the retailer's end on which books sell, which books don't, and which books we're likely to see showing up in the bins. Of course, if you look at the bins now, they're full of Wonder Woman from the New 52 and onward. They're just clogging the bins now, but before that, it's slim
Yeah.
pickings. Now, Chris continues. Comics were always a solitary thing for me. I didn't have friends who shared my love for comics. I almost always hunted alone. I found a good friend in college who introduced me to some stores I'd never been to before. We hunted together when he took me to one of his shops, but I always felt like he wanted to leave before I was done looking. So I would always go back by myself to spend a proper amount of time going through all the long boxes. And yeah, I mean, that's something I never really considered. That's so, we've talked about the team diving is just such an alien concept to me, where it's like if one of you wants to leave quick or one of you wants to hang out, I mean that could be sticky with the wrong partner, right?
Yeah, but that doesn't happen because you got to choose the right partner to dig with. And that's why Beto
Well,
and
yes,
me are
yes.
like the perfect freaking combo because we don't
Hmm.
like, okay, two things you can't go with, a budget or a time limit. Because
Hmm.
there have even been moments where I'm like, oh yeah, I got to pick up my son at 3. And we're like, do we want to put a cap on a hunt? Let's choose a different day. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
because you just never,
Sure.
and honestly, a lot of the times that would have been fine because we kind of ended our hunt before that. It ran its course or whatever. We did our digging for a few
Yeah.
hours, and
But there was no hard
yeah,
line on
yeah,
it.
yeah. There was no curfew. Like you got to be.
No ticking
There you
clock.
go.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know what I mean? So yeah. So yeah, no leaving early, no like splitting paths, and I'll see you later, and you come
Hmm.
back and dig as Chris you just kind of
Sure.
described there. But yet again, hey, I said it. You didn't give me an alternate thing to say. You didn't give me something else to say. All.
I'll work on it.
Yeah, I know, I know. All right, so Beto, my pal Beto Arroyo, is the perfect digging partner. Enough said.
There you
Mm-hmm.
go. There you
Okay.
go. Yeah, I would have to audition people, I think.
I think I'd make the
We'd
cut.
have to do like,
I do.
oh, probably.
Probably.
That could be like that could be a Bada Bin reality show.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's a good one.
Yeah, it'd be like it could be Chris's comics apprentice, where it's like, okay, how long did you spend digging in that
Yeah,
thing?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, are you willing to get on your knees into the 50
Mm-hmm.
cents? Are you willing to do that?
You're sitting there with like a
Yeah, well,
stopwatch. You're like,
yep. Oh yeah.
how long until you find
Yeah,
Starman number? Not Starman. It was Captain Atom. What issue was it again that you needed?
60
60
something.
something. Yeah, whatever. All right. The joke's ruined, but still, yeah.
And then we grade what they find. It's like, do you really need this Youngblood number two? Hmm.
Yeah, right, right.
It's like you lose points for not already owning it
Mm-hmm.
and for picking it up
Yeah.
today. So sorry, it's just not
I
gonna work
think,
out.
dude, like with the criteria I just outlined to you, I'd be an automatic bin diving partner. I mean,
I think
no
so.
budget,
I
no
think so.
time limit. We're just like we're in
Sure.
it, and
Mm-hmm.
this is something
Mm-hmm.
I detailed too with Beto. Was initially when I went hunting with him, conversations were difficult. Now I
Mm-hmm.
can hold them fluently, no problem, while I am digging. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
that's something that you'd struggle with. So maybe you need to audition for me. Hmm.
There we go. Maybe I would fail. I'm sure
Yeah.
of it.
What'd you say?
I, I,
Huh?
I would
What?
I would not live up to your standard. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Well.
But during my process, it's like how many variant covers did you pick
Oh.
up?
Eh.
Because one is
Yeah.
disqualification.
Right.
Sorry,
Sorry, you're cut. You didn't make it.
you're
Yeah. There
done.
you go. Look.
You're like, what did I
Yeah.
do? You should know what you
Some
did.
poor intern kid like goes digging. He comes out like covered in soot and everything. He crawled on the floor like you asked. He did everything you require,
Yep.
but he comes.
Looked like he was a chimney
Yeah, and he
sweep.
comes out with
Yeah.
like, I got the foil variant. And you just pull out a gun. There you go.
Done.
Done. Sorry, kid. Yeah.
I'm not mad. I'm just
Very,
disappointed.
very disappointed.
Um, Back to
Yes.
Chris here for his wrap up. He says, so in this day and
Mm-hmm.
age when almost everything has been collected in trade, what series or storyline that's never been collected would you like to see as a trade or
Wow.
omnibus? Now, Chris talked about the Jason Todd pre-crisis omnibus that he's trying to manifest into this
Mm-hmm.
world, which will probably sadly never happen.
Mm-hmm.
But what say you? What is a story that has never been collected that you would like to see entered into our
Well, this
world, put on your
This is a
shelf?
fantastic topic because anytime in the past, I can cite a couple
Hmm.
instances, primarily with Swamp Thing, that they didn't
Hmm.
have a collection of it. I made sure I had all the
Hmm.
individual issues, and then shortly thereafter, boom, they announce,
David
yeah,
release. Yeah, that was like doing a
yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
I'm like, well, okay, I listen,
That was like doing an incantation.
yeah, I
Yeah,
want the individual issues anyway, or I did at the time. You know what I
sure.
mean? Like one was the Nancy Collins run, which is something
Oh, that they
I did
yeah.
not appreciate when it came out. I was like, this is
Hmm.
not my Swamp Thing. I don't dig this at all. And then as I got older, I
Hmm.
appreciate it. Dude, it's a fantastic run. It really
Hmm.
is. And I'm like, I cannot believe this is not collected in any form. Now, that being said, what they did decide to do was something that I cannot stand, and that is hardcovers. So when you make an omnibus, not
Hmm.
only is it oversized, overpriced hardcover, you know what I mean?
It's hard
Is
to
hard to
read.
read. And as much as I want to
Yeah.
support Nancy Collins, I've talked with Nancy Collins a couple
Hmm.
times. She's a delightful lady with a lot of great
Hmm.
stories to tell about her time writing Swamp Thing. I'm like, man, I'd rather just send you a check for like 15, $20 because however much they're giving you
Yeah.
as part of your royalty, I can't read. I just can't do it, man. I'm sorry. It's not for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, as
Yeah.
far as something that I would love to see collected that hasn't been collected, gosh golly, we'd have to go to the Wayback Machine on that because nowadays
Hmm.
every single thing is
Oh yeah.
collected. And I do feel bad because, look, I look at the emails when we get them. I forward them to you when you read them, but then I don't put a lot of thought into them. And I apologize to Chris you
Hmm.
because I've had essentially a few days to think
I mean,
about
doing
it.
it on the fly it
Yeah, yeah, I
works.
do everything on the fly, unfortunately,
Yeah.
with very little preparation. So I'm going to turn it to you. I'm going to shift
Hmm.
here, throw it at you, and see if anything pops into my head. In the interim.
Um, I really don't. I mean, just this week they announced a Strike Force moratorium of this. I mean, they're
Oh,
putting a
dang!
lot of stuff out now. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, me and Chris Bailey did Moratory Mondays. We covered every issue of that first run. Had a lot of fun with it. Um, and just like you with Nancy Collins,
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that the a series a run that I didn't appreciate early on, but came to really really enjoy it was the Rachel Pollack Doom
Mm.
Patrol. Rachel Pollack followed up Grant Morrison, and her first issue was the first issue of Vertigo Doom Patrol, because the entirety of the Morrison run is DC. Um, it was with him leaving that it shifted over to Vertigo officially, and that was a really weird run, but it was really good too. And I think just like a year or two ago, they did a Rachel Pollack
Mm-hmm.
collection. So that was one that I would have said had they not done it. Um, Boy, oh boy, though. I mean, everything's been
You got to
collected,
look
it
for something
seems.
truly obscure. Um,
You do. Maybe Xenobrood. Maybe Chris use Xenobrood. We can.
well,
Yeah, I mean that's a
I'm
toughie.
thinking too. The last half of Volume One of Swamp Thing, when that got canceled, Swamp Thing made appearances in Challengers of the Unknown. Now I have the
Hmm.
individual issues, but I don't believe those. I don't even know if those made the Volume Three of the Bronze Age or not.
Okay.
Now, speaking of things,
Well,
yeah,
like you to piggyback off
sure,
of
go
that.
on, please.
Um, the Lost Years for the
Mm-hmm.
X-Men, when they were in reprints, they were showing up places as guest stars. Amazing Spider-Man, Marvel Team Up. Uh, we talked about Champions. They showed up all over the place.
Mm.
I don't know that that's been collected. There was the Amazing Adventure series where Hank McCoy took the serum, turned furry. Um, I don't know if like that entire Lost Years of X-Men has been collected in some sort of a format because that would be a fun
Yeah,
one.
sure. Superman Exile, I consider one of the finest storylines ever. Probably my
Hmm.
favorite. Okay, this is a tough one too. Much like which is the greatest Jonah Hex story ever told. If you ask me what's the best Superman story ever told, I could maybe say to you like this issue, that issue, but I'm talking about the story in its entirety, and I would say Exile.
Yeah, there's a lot of qualifiers.
Exile.
Yeah.
Exile is fantastic to the point where I own the individual issues. I have the trade, the out of print trade, and I have two copies of it. And if I see it in the wild, I have to buy it because I think that's just really a fine, excellent story. So
Hmm.
they are doing an Exile and Other Stories omnibus. Of course, it has the criteria that I just outlined to you that I cannot stand: hardcover,
Yeah. Oversized.
giant,
Yeah.
very expensive, and there
Hmm.
is one they're doing now, and I believe I shared this with you via text. The Triangle Era, where they are putting.
Is that actually coming
Yes, you
out?
can pre-order it right
Okay.
now,
Hmm.
and without a discount, I want to say it's like $125 hardcover.
It's a
It's
big,
a
yeah.
big, and it doesn't. Of course, back in the day, you would have said to me an omnibus. I'd like, oh, that includes everything. Well, now it's omnibus volume one, omnibus volume two.
Yeah.
So of
Yeah.
course, this is Triangle Era volume one because you cannot contain
Hmm.
everything, in no matter.
No, you can't put 10 years in
It's
one
virtually
book. Yeah.
unless you want to have the yellow pages from Arizona that you were tearing out the pages
Hmm.
from to find comic book shops. But yeah,
Hmm.
man, and that's something. Even though I own the issues, I'd be interested in having on the bookshelf. Is just
Oh, because it's a pain in the ass to read them because they're in four different long boxes at
right. That's
least.
another thing
Yeah.
too, right? Digging them all out. That's pain in the
Hmm.
butt. That's one of the reasons why
Hmm.
he brought up the Dogs of War was a trade that I talked about in my rewind read last episode. It was just easier for
Hmm.
me to buy the trade for like $6 than
Sure.
go and have to haul out the long boxes to the old Hulk
Oh
run, you
yeah.
know. So yeah, had they said, all right, well, this is a $50 trade paperback soft cover book, dude, I might even bite on that, spending another fifty
Oh yeah.
dollars, even though I own the individual issues, just to have it
Hmm.
right there for my convenience.
Ease of access. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah. But back to the whole question and everything that was proposed to us. That is a toughie. That really is.
Hmm.
And sure enough, the only stuff that hasn't been collected adequately is, I want to say, you got to go back to the early 80s and the 70s and that kind
Oh
of
yeah.
material. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Hmm.
That's how far back you've got to look to find the material that you're like, wow, I can only access this by digging in the bins.
For
Mm-hmm.
sure. Yeah. I mean, there was a time, and I could be mistaken here, but there was a time where the Bat books stopped doing crossovers. There was like a 2 or 3 year span in the 90s before No Man's Land.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that that's been collected or not. It wouldn't surprise me if it was as some sort of a random whatever the
Sure.
hell. But It may not have been. I'm not sure it needs to be,
Hmm.
but I mean that might not have been. Trying to think here
Well,
because
when I said the Challenge of the Unknown, the later half of that series with the Swamp Thing appearances after Volume 1 was canceled, they're not great.
no, of
Yeah,
course not. It's Challenge of the Unknown.
yeah,
No.
no, and of course, Roy Thomas with the whole retcon stuff. Even though
Hmm.
Marv Wolf, you brought up Marv Wolfman cited it, and then Chris, you talked about Roy Thomas using it in
Yeah.
All Star Squadron. Swamp Thing had a brother. He was changing
Hmm.
back and forth between forms. All that stuff is history, is
Sure.
gone.
Oh yeah.
So I think maybe in that aspect, I find that kind of weird minutia interesting a little bit because it's garbage. You know it's
Yeah.
garbage, but you still want to own it. You
Hmm.
still want to have it, and you still want to be aware of
Of
it and
course.
somewhat knowledgeable on it, of it.
Yeah.
So much so you can put on your profile on Twitter, and I'm a comic book historian.
Or a
I'm a
connoisseur.
connoisseur. That's me.
That's why I always preface with fake
Fake
ass.
ass.
Anytime
Yeah.
I give myself a qualifier, I'm a fake ass
Mm-hmm.
comics historian.
Yeah.
So don't take me
No.
seriously. I don't.
Me neither.
Um, there you go. Chris wraps
Yeah.
up with his answer to what should be
Great.
collected. He says, "For me right now, it would be the Marvel Shogun Warriors
Mm.
series. The fact that Marvel is releasing ROM, Micronauts, and Godzilla as omnibuses gives me hope."
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, they're doing that with a lot of the licensed stuff now,
yeah.
huh?
The well is almost
Yeah.
dry. You got to look for anything you can get your fingers on, and Godzilla is one
We're
of
gonna
them.
get
I mean,
we get Chris Tar pretty
yeah, yeah,
soon.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Power Lords
Yeah.
omnibus or
Yeah.
something. I mean, I don't know.
Sonic
Yeah,
Disruptors.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The 12 issue maxi series that went
I can't
7
live without my
because it was that
Kickers Inc. collection. In my life.
kick.
But hey,
And the Steel Town Rockers. Let's get
there we
that.
go. So hey, real quick though, before we close out the Bada Babble segment, and thank you to Chris Yu for
Sure.
always being there for us,
Oh,
always
absolutely.
writing in and with great stuff, awesome material. Are
Hmm.
there any more comments in the chat?
Oh, let me
Please
find
look real
out.
quick before I take the Bada Babble logo off the screen, and
I
we.
gotta hit the mute. The mute's already there. Oh,
Hello.
we do have a lot
Oh,
from our friend Chris
look at that.
Yu.
He's like, you can't shut me up. I got to keep going here. I got more things to say.
He he wants the chili dog
No.
story. Uh, um, your brother says weed whacking the studio lawn. Chris says, I don't remember what movie we were talking about. He said it's another movie that I'll never see, and that is
Beetlejuice, I
true.
think.
Oh,
The
maybe,
the remake
maybe.
Beetlejuice, yes, or Beetlejuice. I
Um,
think.
your, your brother wants to know if it's Chris Farley on that Fantastic Four cover.
No.
Chris Yu says that's the worst Fantastic Four logo I've ever seen, which, yeah, it's not
Yeah, it's pretty
great.
plain Jane.
Yeah. Um, see here. He wants to check out the Robin Lives issue of Batman, from the DC Vault.
Mm-hmm.
And about 45 minutes ago, Chris had to leave
Oh,
us. His lunch was
there
over,
you go.
and he will rewatch later
Back to
on.
work, you bum. There
Mm-hmm.
you go. Fantastic Four.
It does look like Chris Farley, doesn't it?
You think so?
A little bit. There's a
No.
resemblance.
No, it looks more like Michael Douglas from Falling Down. Put on some thick black glasses on him. He's like, I want breakfast.
I see a little Farley.
All right, whatever, man. Whatever,
Yeah.
guy. All right, well, thank you to everybody who's watching live and leaving comments. One of which happens to be related to me, so I don't know if that's sad, pathetic, whatever.
Hey,
It's like fake it till you make it.
I probably couldn't get anybody who was related to me.
Oh, all
now,
right,
so,
yeah.
you got a leg up on me.
It's like, hey man, I got so many subscribers to my YouTube channel. Yeah, who are they? My uncle, my aunt, their cousin, their best friend.
I don't even know two
Yeah,
of them.
yeah. There you go. So you gotta fake it till you make it. There you go, baby. But yeah. All right, so that'd be the Bada Babble for now. But yet again, if you want to contact us, it is now going to be on the screen, badabinshow@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, because I do put up warnings and say, we're going live. And I show this beautiful visage before you in front of all my awesome stuff and warn people what's about to happen. So yeah, you can always check us out on the Instagram. And yeah, you're watching this right now, but share it with your friends. YouTube.com/badabinshow. Write it down, graffiti it, start, I don't even know, tramp stamp it. Whatever you can do. and get the information out there because we want to reach more people or animals
Word.
or crustaceans,
Sure.
whatever.
Living
Yes,
creatures.
there we go.
Great and
Souls. We need more
small.
souls. So, yeah. And Chris, I do believe that you need to go to buy some stuff.
I got a skidoo.
And I realize there's a screen that I have not used in a long time on our live stream. So I'm putting it on the screen right now, just so I don't forget that we still own it and have it. And that's enough of that. That was actually us side by side rather than the Brady Bunch thing we got going on there. But it was brief. I put it on there in a fleeting moment. So yeah.
Okay.
But anyway. But anyhow, yeah, so you get to go buy some stuff. I get to go be a dad. I'm off from work today, and my son starts school back again on Monday, so I got to make the most of this free time. Oof is right.
For sure.
Middle school. Middle school. Can you believe it? These
double oof.
These kids, man. And this is I'm sorry for taking up more time, but this is
oh, you're good.
Man. So it's nerve-wracking, right? You're going to a new school, and it's like the first time ever you're not in like one class for the primary your entire day. You're going to be moving classes around. And I remember when I first started high school, I was so nervous about mastering how to use a lock for my locker. Like, it was my worst nightmare. I probably woke up in cold sweats, like fumbling. I don't know how to work this master lock, you know? But the anxiety you feel and the stress you feel about starting a new school, and what I was trying to affirm to my son was everybody's feeling that. Every generation,
of course,
prior to you has gone through that. Like, it's natural, it's normal.
That's universal.
Exactly. You know what I mean? There's kids in some other country right now who are like, oh crap, I'm going to middle school, so don't be stressed out. Go with the flow. But still, it's been a long summer vacation, man. It's been a long time, so go back, learn something. You know.
There you go.
And one other quick aside is that they get so many clubs and activities in these schools now. It blows my mind because when I was a kid, it was like, come here, be miserable, and take it. Shut your mouth. I even had a shop teacher.
Oh yeah,
what's that?
It was a place you had to go, not a place you wanted to go.
I even had a shop teacher ram my head to a chalkboard one time with no repercussions. It's like, yeah, you're being an idiot. That's what you get. Hey, welcome to the 80s. But now they get clubs, and you can be like in the comic book collecting club. You can be the Pokemon fan club, and all in the school time. What kind of welcoming, awesome environment is this that they provide, you know?
Imagine
Other
that.
than football and orchestra or whatever. They got e-gaming, e-sports, and all kinds of stuff you can do. So this is like Club Med for these damn kids. No rulers on your knuckles.
Yeah.
All right, enough about that. So anyway, I'm Dave. That's Chris. We had a great time today. Next week, I think we should really come with Sweet Spot Books because I believe I promised it last time out, and we dropped the ball.
I will take all the blame.
Well, no, I think that one's on me. The Starman thing is definitely you, but Sweet Spot, yeah, I'll take the heat on that one. But anyway,
fair enough. There's more than enough blame to go around.
This is true, especially in our lives. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the fine folks on the internet before we say adios?
Just a gigantic thank you. And we look forward to talking again with you soon.
Big hugs for all of you, and hopefully we'll see you next week. So that is it for the Bada Bin Show. Auf Wiedersehen!